You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
It's another week, another episode. I'm still recovering from last week's episode.
Is it really another week? Is it actually? How do we know this is this is reality and this is not a simulation, Corey?
Well, see, that's the thing is I'm still recovering. I'm still recovering from last week. Obviously, the episode went crazy. You know, we had Elon here in the studio, and
he's a very interesting character, man. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely like how robotic he is because he's so legit to what he preaches. You know,
right? No, he was obviously the news picked up Elon being on our show and went crazy. Paco gave
there's
him
a lot of controversy because
Yep.
I mean he's love for hentai.
Yeah,
People weren't expecting
and that's
that.
we had to cut that out. You know, we had to cut a lot of the stuff out that we just didn't feel was suitable for our listeners. You know, obviously the hentai and the hot dog juggling.
Oof.
And
Now, I was surprised with that. That was definitely quite a shocker to me.
he's making that device for it, so you don't have to do it yourself. You know, you have a contraption, you just can watch your hot dog
How do you
juggle.
go to autojuggle.com?
Yeah. So, you know, so I apologize, guys. We're just still recovering from our Elon episode. But now it's to move back on to bigger and better things. You know, obviously making rockets and stuff is cool, but drift cars is just as cool, or if not cooler.
Well, there's something kind of like similar between them. You know, we have SpaceX, you know, rockets.
Yeah.
We have drift missiles.
Right.
They're pretty much the same. I mean,
we
think about
we
it.
should probably send most of the drift missiles to space, clean it up a little bit. But you know, coming back, we're
Elon has his Tesla.
in
It's
space.
it's literally drifting in space.
Yeah.
It was set adrift.
So we should launch all the 2F kits to space. Send that up there.
Any particular reason?
For faster worldwide shipping, Paco. You know, what would Elon do, right?
Dude, that's actually not a bad idea. Just have him like literally drop ship.
Yeah, drop ship as a meteorite.
Get it water hot.
They all burn up as they enter the atmosphere. But this is the week. Another FD week coming up, boys.
That's right.
We will be heading to Texas.
Yeah.
So stoked about that. Texas is usually a super solid round when it comes to separating yourself in the points in the championship, and it's been a great race so far. Pro 2 is going to be running out there. Obviously, Pro 2 put on a great show in St. Louis, so we're stoked to see the Pro 2 running again. Obviously, Pro 1 points championship getting tight. And there was also a lot of other events that happened with FD Japan, LS Fest. There was a lot of action going on in the drifting community, even though it was a little bit quiet since St. Louis.
Yeah.
But all
Dude, Formula Drift
good
Japan.
things.
What was that, Brian?
Brian didn't say anything. You're hearing things again.
I'm hearing things.
You're reading minds, Paco. Come on.
It's the Elon
The Elon theory.
the Elon effect.
So when you just read Brian's mind, what did you see?
It was pixelated.
Don't say anything.
It was pretty pixelated to start with, and
Yeah, it's too low a resolution for you to comprehend.
yeah, that's
everything
probably what it was.
8-bit penises. Just censored out.
The balls.
Don't ever read Brian's
the balls
mind,
are kind of
Paco.
squared.
Yep, don't read Brian's
They look
mind.
like balls to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the name Big Balls comes from. It's just always thinking about it.
But there's something about today's episode that there's a certain level of quietness.
okay.
And what happened, like a lot of people don't know, is that Sam is here.
Oh,
Sam
that's
is
right.
he's on Skype. But after the Elon Musk episode, he is literally speechless.
Yeah.
Like his mind was blown so hard that
He's still recovering.
He's still recovering.
He went
so-
in a 4-day coma, Sam, and still haven't found a way to wake him up. We actually,
I thought you went on a food coma.
I did go in a food coma, but
I
Sam
said Ford Tacoma. Huh?
Sam went in a full Elon coma, and he's still not up yet. He's still knocked out. So
Well, it was a very, very interesting weekend. I mean, thanks Elon. Hopefully you'll come back pretty soon. But let's talk real quick. Formula Drift
what's
Japan.
quick? Tell us.
Formula
Paco.
Drift Japan. We had Shinji Minowa won the first place.
Yep.
I'm not gonna pretend that I know him and I was like been following him up close. But Mad Mike finished second.
Cool.
And
Yep, yep.
Andy Gray finished third. Like it's like Formula Drift Japan is like literally Andy Gray and Mad Mike killing it all the time. I mean, and you know, remember Andy Gray was in FD here in the States
Right.
for a while.
Yep.
It was what, 1 year or 2 years? I think he
He
did
did
2
2 years. 1 year he did really good. Then he built that new car and he was struggling with it the second year, and that's kind of when he pulled it all
Yeah, I
back.
really wonder what happened because it seemed like he knows what he's doing. Like he knows.
From my understanding, it was just a newly developed car working out bugs. That's literally all it was. Because now the car that he's running in FD Japan is the car developed here.
Oh, really?
That's from my understanding.
So he probably got it dialed in.
Yep.
By now, it seems like it's kind of like the same thing with Mad Mike because it just like it seems like he's been waiting a little too long to get his cars dialed in. But he's on the RX-7 in Japan.
Didn't he say that was his first drift car too?
I don't know if
I think that's what he said. I think he said the FD Japan car was his first
Huh.
FD RX-7 drift car.
But another thing interesting, it's kind of like a confirmed rumor.
Yep.
But apparently Nakamura is
Yeah.
going back in competition.
Looks like it. Looks like he
And-
built the beast.
1,000+ horsepower. Now, here's something I don't understand. Like, he's kind of like part of that crew who are not big fans of like big horsepower cars. Like, you know, oh, Nakamura can do all this with like 250, 300 horses. Like, he's a badass. But I think even Nakamura knows that when going in competition, you have to bring in the guns. You can't just go into a drift fight with a drift missile, right?
Yeah, or fairly stock SR and
Yeah, so I
A
think
very
that's
simple
gonna
build.
be interesting. 'Cause I think it's like an S15. It's got the same purple shading color,
similar livery.
purple and pink.
Yep.
Just stickers everywhere.
Yep.
But I think it'll be cool. I mean, I'm excited to see him back in, like, especially with today's level of competition. He's not going to FD, but he's going, I think, to D1. And but he's not like he was a champion of D1 street legal.
Right.
So I think he's going to like full pro this time, with full pro build,
Right.
which will be
Proper
interesting. I would like to see how he does, because like
Well, his setup looks very similar to Yokoi's setup from when Yokoi had just a solidly built, simple S15 that's
dude,
functional.
wasn't that crazy that Yokoi had a cable
Factory handbrake,
e-brake on
yeah.
this S15? That's
Reliability and
OG.
simplicity, man.
And
That's-
he saw a podium 1 or 2 times.
he
at
put him
FD.
in Texas, and then I'd have to look up the other stats, but Texas was for sure.
I don't think he had an angle kit either, like the traditional angle kits.
Just
that
like the
most-
chop knuckles,
Like
very
modified,
simple.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, FD doesn't really require you have lots of angle, since they don't really they don't give you points for big angle. They just want you to hang out, right? So I mean, if up to a certain point, when will angle kit is like 100% required?
Well, I think it is because
Just to have that threshold.
you have the ability to, obviously, if you're chasing somebody like Hanadel, and which he does, or even
Yeah.
Denofa in St. Louis, if you don't have the ability to keep up with what he's doing,
Yeah.
if he's throwing deep angle and you're limited to shallow angle, it's only going to hurt
Yeah.
you too.
Yeah, but-
so you just got to keep up with everybody else is doing. So if it does happen, you're ready to respond to that action, if that makes sense. Because if you're just running shallow angle and everybody else can dump it in backwards, you're only limiting yourself. So I think that's just the progression with horsepower, is the progression with angle. It's all relative.
Yeah, but I think it also gives you like a more comfortable driving situation. Like Brian, you got that angle kit for the LS, and
Yeah.
and it's not. I mean, it's not like you're driving competitively, but it gives you like probably like a little bit more.
Yeah, I felt like, I'm able to stay on the gas longer with the car hung out further. It's just all the goodies that an angle kit will do. It was just my first time experiencing that. But it was definitely, I noticed, once I got a few laps in, I started really feeling how far I could push it. And I really see why people like angle kits a lot.
The other thing too is you're able to scrub speed with more angle rather than foot brake. So
Instead
that's-
there you go.
So there's the ability to also scrub
Yeah.
speed.
How do you like your Wisefab?
I love it.
Because it was the first time.
Yeah.
Midwest and South. This is the first time you
Yeah.
ever drove with Wisefab, right?
Yeah, I tinkered with it a little bit, running at smaller tracks, but to actually go out there and be able to drive,
Like actually, like
to
like
really
sand
throw it around, lap
go
after lap after lap.
downhill from Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Full
I
commitment.
can see why everybody runs this stuff, because Wisefab.
Yeah.
It's a created piece specifically for that. You're not
Yeah.
butchering and chopping already pre-existing pieces. Like, it's developed and created this way for very specific reasons, and a lot of people have their own opinions on Ozzy. You asked Chelsea Denofa, he's like, "Why crashed Odie's car because of Wisefab?" And you asked Kojima, and Kojima's like, "I'd rather make my own." Well, obviously he has the ability to do that, but as far as off the shelf, anybody can run it. Well, why not?
Yeah, but for example, like, what if you have like some old '70s muscle car and you want to put a ton of angle in that kind of thing? Like, what would you do?
I would probably. It's the same thing I would do with my Dodgy van or my Tofu Drift van. I would just keep it factory.
You could probably put it on a Plymouth Duster.
Wait, there you go. Yeah, that was the voice of reason.
There you go.
Right there.
That totally makes sense.
Oh,
put S13, S14 stuff on a Duster.
There you go. I just wish I had a Duster, but I mean, I guess this gentleman has a Duster. Who's this beautiful face we're seeing on screen?
What's up, guys? Taylor Hull here. Just come to talk a little bit about my old project, Duster, and maybe a little bit about the Cadillac.
Yeah.
So real quick, while we're talking about the Duster, why did you end up naming the car the Crop Duster?
That's actually not the car's name.
I thought he named them after Jeff Stoneback.
Oh, gotcha,
That's what it was.
gotcha.
The Stone Duster.
The Stone Duster, yeah. So, for some reason I thought it was named after the infamous crop dusting move, but
that was Dustin.
different. That was that. Damn it! Oh well, I'm just totally embarrassed.
Oh my God, Corey, it's fine. I mean, I'm sure he's heard that joke before.
Damn it!
Anybody ever
Never
called
heard
you
that
car?
joke before.
Never. How's it going, buddy?
It is going great. I'm just finishing up working on the Cadillac, doing some final prep for FD Texas. So we're all finally squared away for that and go do one last dyno tuning session tomorrow evening before we head out. And the car's, God willing, not coming back here before the end of the season. So we'll do Texas and Irwindale and then hang out for SEMA. So hopefully everything stays together and does great.
Nice. Are you going to bring the Cadillac to SEMA or the Duster?
No, we're bringing the Cadillac to SEMA. I'd love to bring Stonewall out and hang out and
Dude,
do SEMA Ignited with that thing. People would be really confused.
Get some deal with one of the drifting exhibitions. Like talk to some, like, whoever tire your sponsor. Obviously, I see something on your hat. Tell them, like, hey, bring me for the exhibition and the Duster.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. It was really, really cool bringing that thing out to Gridlife. There were a lot of people like, what in the hell is that thing? Are you going to drift that? So it was cool seeing people's reaction to that car.
Yeah, we were talking about that on last show with Chris Stewart. And, while we were up in the tower commentating, Corey was having the time of his life. He was driving. He was not paying attention to anything but
but I did see that
himself.
thing fly around for sure.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, like, you see Top Garage, the local boys, they have like Team Skittles going on. Everybody's got different colors. And then, like, at the very end of the cloud of the, there's just like this misty shadow coming from behind him. It's just like hanging out. Everybody's like, what the hell is that?
I can't even ruin the party.
Day 3. Nobody has noticed I'm not a 240 yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those cars are so loud and bright and, very JDM style, most of them.
Yeah.
And to have this gaudy, satin black muscle beater behind them, it definitely kind of made for some interesting videos and pictures. I
kind of wish you would have left it with the old patina. I mean, it looks great, all flat black right now and very presentable. But I thought it had a lot of character before you painted it.
It did. There were a lot of people that were kind of upset that I painted it, but that was always the plan. It was kind of neat because you could see all the math of how I built the car because, naturally, throughout the course of putting 240 front and rear subframes in the car, there was a lot of math that went along with it. So I just wrote all the equations and everything I needed across the side of the body, so I couldn't lose it on a sheet of paper.
Man, that would have been so cool. Just kind of like left that. Yeah. Is there a way you could probably because now it's flat black, you could probably do like chalk, chalk it out like an Einstein, like a mad scientist, like writing all your equations.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. I think a few people have done some crazy stuff like that at some car shows. Just let people draw all over their stuff with chalk and then just wash it off afterwards.
It's good tailor hunting.
What?
Yeah.
Brian made a movie funny.
Nice.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
So obviously you've been drifting for quite some time. So I want to kind of throw back and let's start at the beginning with you because you kind of have some pretty interesting stories that kind of get you to where you're at now, especially driving a Cadillac and one of the only Cadillacs in Formula Drift. But where did drifting start for you? Like, how did you kind of get your feet wet? What was the hook? Where did it all go down?
I watched a lot of my friends drift when I was in high school. One guy in particular, Emmett Ash, kind of got me into it and kind of got me hooked on watching it. But I grew up doing asphalt oval track racing from the time when I was like 13 to when I was in my early 20s, and just got a little burnout on it and decided I wanted to do something different. Just sold all my stuff and started drifting. I went through like 3 cars before I ever even got to run one. I bought a FC RX-7 that I planned on putting like a 383 stroker small block Chevy motor in, and never finished it. Then I bought a S14 that I planned to put that same motor in and never finished it. And then I sold both of them and bought a S13 that already had like a Sicky LS swap kit, motor and T56 already sitting in it. Bought the car sight unseen and had it shipped up from I think somewhere in BFE, Louisiana. And spent a couple months finishing it and just started playing around at local events and did okay at those. Moved up to Pro-Am and did okay at that, and kind of stumbled into an FD license. I don't want to say stumbled in, but I only ran like one event my first year in Pro-Am. Got my ass kicked by Brandon Wicknick at Gresham Motorsports Park, my very first Pro-Am event, and blew up the next one. And we just decided to come back and have a little fun for the second year. I think I came into the last round of Pro-Am like 7th in points or something. You had to finish top 3, and literally like the seas parted and the red carpet rolled out for everything that had to happen for me to get an FD license that day. And so we figured, what the hell, we got our Pro 2 license. We might as well go try it.
Nice. So was that S13 obviously moving into Pro 2? You got your license. You ditched the S13 and jumped into an S14 right away, or what was kind of the next step for you?
Yeah, we sold. I pretty much parted that car out. The only thing I kept off of it was, I think, PBM drop knuckles, which coincidentally are still on Stonewall today. That whole rear subframe setup. But I sold the car, and kind of a fun story about that car. It actually just got brought back to life by a good buddy of mine named Chris Nash. We went and did a demo at Montgomery Motor Speedway, which was the first place I had Stonewall out with the new paint scheme and everything. So I actually got to tandem with my old car a few weeks ago. That was really cool. But I think he's trying to sell it now or something. So good luck to him on that. But it was just not going to be a competitive car for FD. The cage was kind of done weird. I did my own cage, and it was the first one I had ever done. So you can kind of imagine how that went. So we built a S14. It was an old Sicky car. It already had the cage in it. Just kind of went traditional LS 383 on nitrous. And that went pretty well. The nitrous thing was cool, but it was just a real pain in the ass trying to travel all over God's creation and find places to get nitrous filled. And I only had like 2 or 3 tanks, so especially places like Seattle and Irwindale, I was having to drive like hour and a half, 2 hours away to go get nitrous filled. And I'm like, man, I can't do this anymore. So ended up going supercharged the next year. Fought some issues with just trying to keep belts on and doing some other stuff. We ended up just having a weird pulley setup.
Why is that? That seems to be a lot of the supercharger crowd. That seems to be their Achilles heel. Their Achilles heel, that they keep like popping belts. How, like, why is that? Is it because just like letting go of the gas so sudden and then giving it back again, and like that belt just tensioning back and forth? Is there like a way of getting around that?
I think I thought that initially, but I really think it's all in just your setup and how you have it laid out. Because with all the issues we fought those first couple of years, the supercharger we have now, which is still a Magnuson, I've been on Magnuson the whole time, but we switched over to the Heartbeat. Not that there was anything wrong with the other style, but we went with LS7, and this is what they make for an LS7. So When we switched over to this, we went with like an LSA accessory drive, which is what you traditionally find on a Cadillac ATS-V. And I, knock on wood here, I've had absolutely zero belt issues all year with the car. It's the same belt that came with the kit. So we just simplified it a little bit and went with what the factory sends with these things, and it's been really good.
And that was that's on your Cadillac right now.
Yes.
When you had it on your 240, was it the same setup?
No, I had a completely different engine in the 240. It was a 408 stroker.
Oh, okay.
It was the jack shaft style Magnuson supercharger that's got the dual belt drive, one on the front that is one continuous drive with the serpentine belt, and then the cog setup in the rear. So part of the reason we went to the newer Heartbeat was just to simplify things a little bit and have one less belt to fail. Also, when you slung the belt on that one that was on the serpentine belt and the supercharger belt, you lost everything. You lost power steering, you lost water pump, you lost everything.
Oh.
So you not only were down 200, 300, 400 horsepower, you also couldn't steer anymore.
Yeah.
So we went with a dual belt in the front setup this time, which is the stock LSA. And
if you lose one or the other, at least you still have some of
right.
it.
You're either gonna, unless you lose both belts, you're gonna either have your supercharger or you're gonna have your power steering.
Which could happen if one belt comes off and it gets chewed by the other.
Yeah, it could happen, but knock on wood, we haven't had those issues yet.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like your car has been doing a lot better now. Do you tell us what happened this weekend? What are you doing this weekend?
We went and partied out at LS Fest and picked ourselves up a W. So that was really exciting. The car did really, really good. We had one little alternator fluke right there at the end and kind of had to do some tomfoolery to make it last through the final battle. A couple of my friends from comp and some of Human's guys, just so many people pitched in. That was a really, really cool deal. I had to take my 5 minutes after my chase run on the final battle, and we went in and ratchet strapped a power jump pack in there to get enough voltage to run that last run of the battle. So that was kind of funny.
Well, looks like you still did pretty good. But let's before we go in full mode into LS Fest, let's go back to the past.
Yeah, because I wanted to get to the idea of you run your Pro 2, you get your license, you're stepping into Pro 1, and then you do half a season with an S14, roughly a few rounds, and then you jump into the Cadillac. And I kind of want to know that story on what kind of created that trend to make that move. Because as you know, you obviously you're stepping into a platform that has been tested and proven, and then you jump into something that nobody's touched. And it's kind of like one of those things where you want to scratch yourself on the head and be like, man, why would you do that after literally driving one of the most developed or potentially developed chassis in drifting and all, to step into something that is so foreign to a lot of drifters, in the sense that this is I think the first one legitimately ever used in competition. But yeah, just kind of that story on how that developed and created before now you're starting to get more time in. Obviously, you got your first W, but how did that roll out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm almost 100% sure I have the only drift Cadillac ATS out there anywhere. So that's definitely been a challenge. But how I got there was we ran the half season in the S14, which was my car from Pro 2, and like you said, it's a proven, developed, easy car to drive, good all-around chassis. One, it had been wrecked a few times. Not that it couldn't be pulled back straight or anything like that, but I just made the decision that I wanted to move on and do something different, completely different. And it was a lot of it was due to marketing and the way the sport's going. You want to have something marketable to Fortune 500 companies, and newer, edgy companies don't want to, necessarily be associated with cars that are 30 years old. As much as I love them and the drift community loves them, for those companies to be able to market their company in the light that they'd like the public to see it in, they want it in new stuff that's still available. So that's why I started looking at newer stuff. Initially, I had looked at potentially building a car sort of like Stonewall as my Formula D competition car, just to be really out there and different.
That'd be cool.
But just looking at the old suspension models and the way the FD rules are written, I still don't think it'd be a viable option. As cool as I think it would be, having a car with torsion bars and leaf spring rear suspension is just not practical to try and keep up with, every other pro build out there.
Which this happened at the beginnings of Formula Drift. There was like a 67 Camaro, there was like an El Camino, but maybe at that level horsepower and level of competition, that was acceptable.
Yeah, I think back then, a 400 or 500 horsepower car would have gotten you where you needed to be. So
any car.
Yeah, and
I mean, there was a Honda Element at some point.
Right, and the suspensions weren't nearly as developed as what they are now. There was no such thing as Wisefab or PBM or anything like that. It was just some cut knuckles at best, and some whatever coilovers you can find to fit that car and go have at it. So this was a totally different thing. As cool as I think it would be to run a car like that in competition. I'm not saying I'd never do it or never explore that in some sort of competition realm, but right now I think we've made the right decision. But the way the Cadillac came about is, I started looking at chassis that people didn't have, and kind of to finish off the S chassis piece. When I started looking around the FD paddock, there's almost half the field is S chassis of some sort when you go and look through the point standings, and we just simply don't have the resources to build something as awesome as like what the Worthhouse guys have, or as nice as what Kaufman's car is, and some of those. So if you're not going to be able to build something to that spec with what's already on grid, I just decided to go a completely different route, and I started looking at stuff that nobody else had. We looked at FRSs initially, and then that's again just wanted something that was totally off the wall to really separate myself and build a name for our team.
Yep.
So we looked at Camaros a little bit, but those had kind of been done before too. And then I've always been a huge fan of Cadillac, so that was sort of where I started gravitating towards and started looking at wheelbases. The older CTSs are a little bit bigger than what I chose with the ATS. This car's a 109-inch wheelbase car, so it's about the size of the Mustang. It's actually a little smaller than like Odie's old Genesis.
Oh wow!
So I was pretty confident that wheelbase-wise it would work. And
what's the weight?
It's 3240 with me.
That's right now?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's not a heavy pig. It's heavier than like a S13 would be. But
it seemed like, for example, like Daigo's old GTR, or even the GTR Robbie used to drive. Who's driving it again right now? What's his name?
Jerry.
Kaz.
Yeah, it's Jerry Yang's.
Jerry
Yang
Yang's,
Racing.
yeah, like those cars seem a lot heavier. Like I don't know. They probably are they like maybe over 30,
we
33,
would,
34?
Yeah, I would just ask and make sure we get full statistics on it, because those guys obviously are.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just saying, like, it seems like those cars are very heavy.
It looks massive. You just pure assumption. You look at it, and it's like that looks like a massive car.
No, but also like on the way they move, they like they don't seem as nimble, I would say, as other cars. But that's, I mean, just an observation, not a fact.
It definitely visually is a bigger car. And
well, the wheelbase is the same as the ATS. It's 109 inches.
Yeah,
the R35.
But that's what I'm saying. But the ATS seems to be, especially recently, where it seems like you got more comfortable, and it seems like the car is a lot more nimble than what it looks like.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of have a misconception about the Cadillacs as just being these huge pigs, and it's really not. It pivots really, really good, and it transfers weight better than I kind of had ever imagined that it would. It is a very similar feel by design as an S chassis. It's a multi-link rear suspension, independent, and McPherson's front. So we just kind of replicated the specs to make it feel like a S chassis. With caster and camber and the way it all moves, and it did it. So
how behind is the engine from the front axle?
I don't have the actual spec on that, but it's set back a pretty good ways, and it's pretty close to the firewall. But
Yeah. So I mean, it is pretty tucked into the firewall. It's not like sitting on top of the axle, like.
No, if you look at the center of the shock towers, right at the center of the shock tower, I'd say you're probably in between the first and the second exhaust port, or right at the second, somewhere around there.
Uh-huh.
So it's tucked back in there
good,
pretty
yeah.
nice, and the Cadillac's really cool with the way the front suspension or the front end is designed, because it's got factory strut tower braces to the firewall, which really helps stiffen the car up and helps it in impact too. So that was something that I didn't even expect. It was a really nice
Not just
bonus.
factory, yeah. I'm looking at some photo right now, and you can tell this is a four-banger, but still the engine is pretty tucked in the back. Like it starts at the same distance from the strut towers.
Yep. We've got a lot of room in the front. Obviously, we've got the radiator in the back, like almost every other FD car is, but I've got room for the heat exchanger and the AccuSump that we actually just put in, and there's still plenty of room between like the front of the cross member and the front bumper, so that God forbid if we do hit anything pretty hard, there's a lot of give room before it actually gets into anything critical.
Nice.
So you make the jump, and was the response from running a new car what you thought it was going to be? Like, obviously, you jumped in the Cadillac. Did you get that response from manufacturers and sponsors, and or was kind of the hustle the same and response still the same? But what was your impression when you first jumped into it?
The hustle was similar, but the response was, I would almost call it night and day different.
Nice.
That's
People knew about the car a lot of times before I even started to pitch it, and that was before I even drove it. So that was a huge shot in the arm that I felt like we were moving in the right direction. Like when I went out to SEMA last year after announcing the build, a month or two, I think ahead of SEMA, there were a lot of companies that already knew about what we were doing. But in the same breath, I feel like there's a lot of people that say they're going to do something, and then it, for one reason or another, doesn't come to fruition. So
Right.
I think it was going to be one of those, if you build it, they will come kind of deals. So we definitely got a lot more support than what we had previously. But I think it's that this year, having the car and finally finishing it and having it out at competition and now working through all the bugs, I think next year is setting up to be even better.
Yeah, because I was going to say, looking back at your old S14, it was kind of just a plain Jane, simple, very typical S14. Livery was very generic.
Not hating on anything, but it was definitely kind of bland. Like it was kind of hard to. Hey, have you seen Taylor Hall? Who Taylor Hall? He's like gray 240. Oh, maybe. It's definitely not. It wouldn't jump. It wouldn't stand out. But now to say, oh, you've seen the Cadillac drifting? Oh yeah, Taylor Hall.
Well,
and that's exactly what we wanted. That's the whole idea of why we went with the Cadillac, is just to stand out and do something different and be identifiable by that car. And what you just said is the main reason.
Well, it also, obviously, the livery kind of speaks for itself, too. Obviously, you have big comp cams down the door and a couple of their other sponsors on board, which I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons they jumped on board with the program that you were developing over the past 2 years. But what is that relationship like, and how did that end up starting?
Believe it or not, that was just a cold call email. And we told them about the Cadillac, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Cadillac is what was able to jumpstart that relationship. I mean, they sell parts to domestic cars primarily.
Right.
It's not for Nissans traditionally. It could be for Nissans with LS swaps, but having it on a domestic car just makes a whole lot more sense for them. So that was just a cold call email, and they got some interest, and I provided a lot more information, and that was something that they decided would be worth their time. And they had never been in the drifting market really at all. So
pretty much,
really cool.
pretty much, you're bringing comp cams to drifting for the first time. Like, I mean, I think this is a good example of like old known American brands finally saying like, all right, well, let's check out this whole drifting thing. Let's see what it's all about.
Yeah, I think drifting and FD specifically is kind of getting to the point where it's hard to ignore for some of these companies, where where the oval track racing that, all of the baby boomers grew up watching and following, that whole side of racing is starting to peter out a little bit. I'm a fan still of oval track racing. I still like watching it, but there's not a lot of people left that do. And so that's on a big decline, and this is on a big upswing. So it's getting hard to ignore for all these companies that, and not only that, the cost of being involved in FD is just astronomically lower than organizations like NASCAR or Indy cars or anything like that. It's pennies on the dollar of what you have to pay to go play on those series. Because that was my aspiration initially when I was younger, and I watched people like the Logano's and people like that of the world spend literally tens of millions of dollars to get there. And if you don't have a very, very wealthy family or somebody that really likes you a whole hell of a lot, you're just not going to get there. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah, that's one of those stories that I remember fondly from one of my times at SEMA, and there was this. It was like a promoter, and he had his driver. It's like some young kid is joining NASCAR. I think it was what's the lowest tier for NASCAR, Corey?
Could be anything from the truck series or
it is the truck or one of those the ones that you can see on Friday or
like Kane West.
And they were talking to Forsberg, and I was we were talking. So when they approached, I was just kind of paying attention, trying to learn something. And this kid is probably 16-year-old kid running NASCAR, living the dream. He seemed all bummed. He was telling Forsberg this year we're kind of struggling a little bit because we barely have a $5 million budget, and we're still not sure if we're gonna make it. I remember seeing Forsberg's face when they say $5 million, I wish I had half of that. And Forsberg being all professional, obviously, oh no, you will get there. Obviously, you just seem like you have a lot of talent. And after they were gone, Forsberg was like, holy shit, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this is a low tier team, and that's why I think a lot of drivers, a lot of drift drivers, they still need to expand the horizons and literally try to get Fig Newtons to sponsor them, and get all these unconventional brands that usually go on NASCAR, like Tide. Who cares? I'll put Tide on my hood.
Yeah, absolutely. I think branching out and doing something different. NASCAR didn't go that way until the 80s or early 90s, even getting away from the automotive-related sponsors. And I think that's the way that
they lost the cigarettes and the alcohol.
Right. Yeah, but I think Tide, I think you were right. I think it was the first one. I think Darrell Waltrip in the mid to late 80s got that, and then everyone sort of followed suit. And, there's not a lot of automotive related companies that necessarily have to give, money to get the exposure that they need in the automotive industry already. So
that's also interesting too, because NASCAR started in 1950, so it took 30 years to finally have enough relevancy to draw attentions from multi-million or billion-dollar organizations.
Yeah,
and Formula D is now going in their 16th year right now, and you're starting to see a lot of migration, obviously, with the whole gum out guys. You have obviously NOS, Coca-Cola, Monster. Yeah, those guys are taking a swing at it. But the more traction you have, or the more eyeballs and the more money into the sport, that helps everybody, even if it's at the top. Because they're drawing more eyeballs in. The only reason that guy's looking $5 million to run a lower amateur or lower pro series is because the people at the top are asking for 30 or 40 million. So even if FD gets even more expensive and more sponsors are stepping up, that could potentially open up a larger budget for some of the grassroots and pro-am dudes finally.
Yeah, I think so. And I think to some degree, as long as they don't let us go to tube chassis and slicks or anything like that, which I don't foresee that happening.
No.
I don't think the build cost for FD can really go up a whole lot more. And I hope I won't eat my words on that, but I just think it's kind of stabilized now where, everyone's kind of figured out that for the most part, 800 or 900 horsepower is about what you need to be able to turn the tires and do what you need to do. Because if you make much more than that, it becomes unusable, and the tires still have to last 2 laps, no matter how much horsepower you make. If it's 500 or 2,000, it's still it's a radial tire and it's got to last 2 laps. So,
well, I think the limit was found, and it's definitely nice that it's probably gonna stay right there.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, but isn't it an interesting thing that also what makes FD interesting is you're still having cars compete at a pro level that's built in your garage and can be maintained in your garage. It's very simplistic compared to a lot of other race series, even including Supercross. I went out to Supercross, and obviously the Mategi and Wheel Pros guy, they sponsor a factory Suzuki team, and those dudes have 5 motorcycles, 3 rigs, a massive shop. The expense to run even just a motorcycle team is well beyond what it costs to run a Formula Drift team.
And there's quite a few of them that have that set up.
Oh yeah, that's the majority of the operations, and they're doing I would say 16 events a year or more, including outdoor.
Looks like the clothes are dry, by the way.
Yeah, I think they are.
I have the same dryer.
Yeah.
You got that Maytag, bro.
Yeah.
But but to kind of wrap that up, though, is like everybody still looks at it from a drift like, oh, it costs so much money now. I think that's just not having a realistic view on what it really costs to run a professional race series.
Exactly. Like a lot of people says, Formula Drift is so unobtainable right now. It is still. I mean, it's not cheap. But it's doable.
If you're looking to go racing, you're not going to find a cheaper professional series. I could tell you that.
How do you build your car yourself, right? Like, I mean, most of it, all the work and all that, you did it like in your own garage.
We did a lot of it. John Maykrantz with Committed Service Brand did a lot of it as well. He did like the coolant lines for the back. He helped with the angle kit. Bink Industries did the knuckles for the angle kit. They're actually based off of Odie's knuckles for the Genesis years ago. So that was pretty cool. But John did the motor mounts for the LS7 and Trans. Chris Ward did the cage with Top Garage. And then Royalty Performance helped a little bit with like the headers and doing some stuff like that. So that, and mounting the radiator. And then I kind of filled in all the blanks of everything else.
But it's still like local bodies. These are not like gigantic shops. Just like local good shops, good all American labor. Like.
But I pretty much, beyond getting some of those initial big pieces knocked out of the way, I maintain it all. And I could have done all that. Like, I built my S14 completely by myself in my garage. I built Stonewall completely, by myself over time in the garage. But with a project like the Cadillac and the time frame that we had to turn it around in, I had to have some help. And I wanted some people that I felt like truly could get me to where I wanted to be as far as competition wise and pro, and that do this, every day for a living. So that's why I went with the people that I went with to help boost this program and get me in a car that I believe can be competitive at the highest level. And I do truly believe that the car can be. So
obviously you spent some time in the S14, you jump into the Cadillac for your first practice session. Noticeable difference between the two?
Grip. This thing, and I think some of it's going over to Fortune with the 2-ways, and they spent a lot of time developing the shocks for this car. It spent like a month and a half up there, like during the off season, them just developing and tinkering and going back to the drawing board and finding what works. And we still had to mess with it a little bit, but this car was fast, like right off the rip. Angle kit felt really good. I was truly blown away at how little we had to do to the car from the first time it touched the track. We've had some weird drivetrain issues with the car, but as far as the totality of the car working, it has done amazing just right off the rip, and I couldn't have been more pleased with it.
How about the driving characteristics between the two?
It probably transitions just a hair slower, but it is definitely more stable at angle. You can really feel it at the bank tracks, getting up against the wall. Like the 240 was a little twitchy up when you get up close to the wall, and it kind of, you'd bounce off a little bit, and it just never looked really stable, never felt really good. But this one, you can just kind of plan it and it'll stay there. It's really nice.
I was gonna say, like, excuse me, newer chassis. Sorry, jeez. Newer chassis, since they seem to conform a lot better to today's safety standards, they seem like they're a lot more stiff from factory. Like, I mean, 350Zs in comparison to a 240, they're pretty solid as the way they come from factory. Like the FRSs, the GT86s, they even come with like factory spots for roll cages. It seems like that's another advantage of having a new chassis, that you had like this inherited factory stiffness, which I think it will translate into a way better platform, right?
I think so. I can tell you, Chris with Top Garage was complaining because this is one of the newer cars I think he's done a cage in. When he was trying to do the A pillars, he had to spend a lot more time than normal just beating them up to make them fit, to get the cage as tight as he wanted in there. And he welds the A pillars right to the actual A pillars of the car, to just increase the stiffness as much as possible, so you can almost barely tell the cage is in there when you're looking at it from the outside. But he had a lot of trouble trying to get the thing just to even beat in, to get it where he wanted it, to make it clear. So that was a testament to that fact. And not only that, but I need to show you the pictures of the car when I got it, because I bought it from a salvage yard out in Texas with no interior, no motor, no trans. It had been hit in the right rear and hit hard in the left front, but nothing had moved. And I think part of that was that firewall to strut tower brace that we talked about, and part of it was just the fact that the new cars are stiff and strong and so much better than the old cars. Because I took a shot in the 240 down at Orlando when the belt came off and damn near destroyed the car. And I think this car probably took a harder hit than that, and nothing moved.
Nothing moved. So I think that's probably where it's at. Just like go to the salvage auctions, get newer cars that are rear-wheel drive, and get them for cheap. I thought for a moment that your car was actually a flooded car.
No, it was wrecked.
It was wrecked.
It was wrecked out in Texas right before the big floods came. But that was the other cool thing about building this Cadillac. When I decided I was going to build a new car, period, I decided that before I decided on the Cadillac. I had already scrapped the idea of running the 240. I just didn't want to do it again. I wanted to do something different. And starting to add up the money of what it was going to cost, by the time you get a quick change and you get drive shaft shop axles and you build a new motor, it almost, and get different suspension, whether it's adjustable links or angle kit or whatever, it pretty much is the same price for all that stuff, no matter what you put it on. So really just the difference is what you start with. So that's what made going to the Cadillac kind of an easy decision too, because you're going to spend X amount of dollars to get all those parts, no matter what you're going to do. So it's just the difference in that very first investment of the car. And I bought the Cadillac for $2,000 out of Texas.
What a steal.
Considering there was nothing on it.
I bought my Cadillac for $2,000. How about that?
But it ran, right?
It ran and drive.
There you
full
go.
engine, everything. But it's front wheel drive, so it won't.
All right, so you build this crazy ATS, put this, and is your car supercharged, correct? Right now? Yeah,
it's a RHS aluminum block, Cali's cranking rods, JE pistons, and all comp valve train. And then it's got a Magnuson supercharger. So it's a true 427.
So real quick, Comp Cans, they own a couple different companies, right?
Yes, they own Comp, obviously, Comp Cams, and we run Driven Racing Oil, which they also own, and RHS, which is, they make heads and the block, obviously.
Yeah, and those are some pretty nice pieces too. And
Fast, I'm sorry.
Fast is another.
I was gonna say like that intake manifolds. Every LS guy
ECUs
has to have it.
And yeah, those are. So that's the thing is, reaching out to a network, and somebody like Comp Cans, they have so many resources kind of at your fingertips for exactly what you're looking to do, which makes it unique. obviously to yourself, but obviously you see a bunch of other LS-based companies, if it's Holly or these other brands like Edelbrock now finally stepping up. Once again, traditional old school brands now investing so much money and effort into drifting because, like you said, you can't ignore it. It's still considerable that it is probably one of the largest growing motorsports still to date. And I think the attendance show it. I think the live stream shows it. And if you really think about it, the TV package they have is very simple, but the audience responds. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to see these old school companies finally start triggering in and not ignoring it.
They're starting to realize that, like Taylor said, it's pennies to $1 to be part of a pretty well developed series that gives you a lot of airtime, where there's all these other. Because here's the other thing. I mean, you want to see your product being advertised against other products as well, and you see like the other products that are being advertised in this series. You have all the top energy drinks. You have like a lot of brand new cars. You have a lot of big brands already involved. So the when you get your brand being part of that series, it kind of like brings it up to their level as well. You know what I'm saying? Like they should see that value as well. It's not the same like if you go try to sponsor like a circle track race car, where like everybody's like sponsored by my buddy next door and like, I'm sponsored by my local business, whatever. Like it doesn't seem to add that much value, where instead like you're going into these series where you have all these big brands already available. So now it puts your brand into like a higher tier. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like this. It's once again, not only is there a competition on track, there's a competition in the pits, in the branding, in the activation.
Exactly.
There's a competition within itself. So if you go to an event and there's no sponsors in there, why does another sponsor want to be involved in the series if there's no other sponsor? There's no competition. But if you go out there and you see Red Bull winning everything and you see Red Bull dominating the pit activation and winning over the fans, that's when Rockstar steps in and be like, dude, we can't let them keep dominating like this. Let's find a team or a resource and spend money so we can go out battle these dudes. And so that is internally kind of what happens in the paddock with sponsors and things. And that's once again, there's a tire championship in Formula D. There's a manufacturer's championship in Formula D, because everybody still wants to have that title no matter what side that they're actually on. So there's multiple competitions going in to that one singular competition where you guys watch a driving a competition. But going back to the Cadillac, watching you from Long Beach on, which obviously you had some struggles at Long Beach and ended up not making it out there. What?
It was it had the invisible car going.
Yeah, but the question is
so fast.
Yeah, the question is what kind of were the complications? Obviously, everybody has issues with new cars. No matter if you're building a 240 for the 5th time, there's still bugs you need to shake out of it before she starts becoming reliable. But from scratch, what have you been experiencing, and what has kind of put that strain on your program for this year?
Our initial big issue is we chose the wrong engine builder, and we had a lot of assembly issues, stuff like not putting dowel pins in the heads and putting a wrong size bore head gaskets in there and putting trunnions in upside down. So just all kind of real fun stuff that we fought for a little bit.
I love my trannies upside down.
Yeah.
Wait, I
think we're talking about a different thing.
Yeah.
So once we got all that sorted out, which is kind of what kept us out of Long Beach, just some weird part failures. Probably the worst one we had was RHS hasn't got their new heads out for LS7. They sold out and they're having to do a new run. So we had to run like a LS7 traditional style ported head. And I bought some of those and ran the valves that came in them, which was some off-brand valve that I just didn't really pay that much attention to. So that was my fault. But with the boost and the power level that we were at, it broke the head off a valve. That was down in Orlando, and it swallowed it, and the piston slammed it into the bottom of the head, 10,000 times or whatever, and finally disintegrated it and shot it out the exhaust. But that ruined all the pistons, killed a block, killed the head, and that was a pretty big one. And then
that's like a whole new engine.
Yep, it was pretty much a whole new motor at that point. We kept the crank and the rods and sort of scrapped everything else, and that one hurt. But we didn't have a long time to turn it around
Yeah.
either. But
But
then
it's
this
it's,
most
it's
recent
coming
time-
back from those. What shows that you have it.
Yeah, we haven't missed an event, even though we've had some issues at them, but we haven't missed an event since Long Beach, and that's sort of been our commitment from the beginning of the season is we're going to make it, somehow, some way, beg, borrow, steal to get there, and we've done that. And the most recent failure we had was just main bearing failure. And we kind of attribute that to some oil starvation that we had, just doing some more R&D with some parts, just stuff that an LS was never intended to go into a Cadillac ATS. So there's, a lot of custom stuff that had to be done there. And I think we finally found the breaking point of that. And now we've gone to a different style oil pan and put an AccuSump in there and just put some fail safes in there to hopefully block that from ever happening again, and we're all pretty confident. I've got a really good engine builder now that I really trust in John Kazi Racing up in Winder, Georgia. They're kind of world renowned in a lot of different disciplines of motorsports, specifically a lot of like big marine offshore boat racing. They had a crazy boat motor in there.
Damn.
When I went in there on the dyno with all kind of crazy water cooled stuff, the turbos were water cooled. Even the headers were water cooled on that thing. So that was pretty wild. Yeah, it's
Insane.
Yeah, I'll have to share a picture with you guys.
Yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
was
you're driving
pretty
a
wild.
boat already, so might as well.
Yeah, seeing something like that and seeing what kind of deal they're capable of doing, I really felt like I was in the right place. And we've had really good luck developing stuff for the car and with the motor, and they're kind of pointing me in the right direction on a lot of the stuff where felt like we were lacking, and I think we're in a good place now.
I mean, obviously, it seems like everything is falling in the right place now. But I mean, I think Corey might agree with me at this point. If at any moment you just feel like, screw this whole V8 business, a 2JC Cadillac ATS will be pretty badass.
It would be pretty badass.
I
I haven't ruled anything out. I'm just going to tell you. Earlier this year, if you'd have had a 2J on an engine stand at some of these events, I would have gladly put it in there. So it's
It seems like you and Corey went through the whole same process, but in Corey, everything happened in like in 10 minutes. Everything failed. Like an entire season went on like just 10 minutes on the dyno.
Well, see, that's the advantage of having somebody like Comp Cams. And that's the reason why I brought up like Comp Cams is literally you can build an LS with every part that they make, and it would be a pretty badass LS.
it is.
So that's why I'd say don't change what you're doing because you have some of the baddest dudes there.
Doesn't like Comp Cams is like already making cams for like Hondas and like
Then I don't know.
I know like Holly, like they do like some import performance stuff.
Well, once again, Holly's in a very similar brand to Comp Cams as they probably own
That's
10
what I'm
other
saying.
brands.
So like I can imagine like eventually seeing like, oh, is that like a Tomei cam in your SR? No, it's a Comp. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good at kind of seeing how the market trends are going and jumping into those, which is why I think they're moving into drifting and seeing that it's growing and seeing what else they can develop. But there are a ton of parts for a ton of cars that they supply, and the guys over there are just second to none. I mean, it's kind of well known that we've had some issues, but man, have they been right there, willing to step in and help develop. I mean, we've developed parts and different things specifically for this application, and kind of for nothing else other than they'll move it and apply it to other things that are taking this kind of abuse. But it's been a really cool research and development process to get this thing to work right, and they've been right there the whole step of the way, and it's been really cool for me to see that and to interact with guys as smart as those dudes over there. I mean, one of the guys, Billy, he was like doing stuff with space shuttles and stuff before he came over to work with Comp. I mean, you talk like really, really smart people. And Dave Henninger was working with the Chevrolet Le Mans Corvette team.
Oh, sick.
So just extremely, extremely smart people that I'm really happy and proud to have on our side.
Also, I'm going to stop you right there real quick because we have a super chat For you guys don't know what Super Chat is, on YouTube, you can sprinkle a little coinage in there, and you can ask your question, and it'll get asked fairly quickly within reason without destroying the show. So without further ado, we have our longtime listener, first-time Super Chatter, Homer Sorry. His question is...
Which, by the way, he's donating
$2.69. Wow. Ding, ding, ding. Here's the question. What car would everyone drive in Initial D?
Taylor.
Stonewall.
So just said so. Yeah. We'll put a big old American chassis in there initially.
Downhill.
Everyone's like, Gojo. Oh, Taylor Holy.
Oh, dust it up.
You guys know I'm all about being different. I got to stand out.
And then it just like, you hear SRs and rotaries, and then you hear... And then all the Japanese kids are like,
They all look like the
they all
sticker on the
plug
back
their
of
ears.
the front of my
Like,
car.
what is this mess?
Here, I'm gonna guess Big Balls Brian.
Let Big Balls pick. Big Balls Initial D.
Well, let me guess,
Okay,
and
you
let's see if
guess.
I get it right.
All right.
Ready, Brian?
What was the question? Like
What car would you drive in Initial
So
D?
I'm gonna guess your car.
My car?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready? One,
Yeah.
two, three. Toyota
Yep.
MR2.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. And a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. What
Over
about you,
anything
Corey?
else.
I'd probably do the S13 or the FC.
Oh wow, that's so cool, Corey.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the only reason, the thought behind it is I want to drive cars that I'm familiar with so I can really enjoy the toge.
Okay.
See, I would hate to hop into something that I'm not familiar with and then just spoil the experience. So I would rather drive something I'm familiar with. so I
No,
can
that makes
enjoy it.
sense. You got to trust what you're doing in
Yeah.
a car you're familiar with, especially in toge.
Because if I were to hop in the Tofu Drift van and hit the toge, it'd be parked on the side of my house with no parts in it.
your first corner.
It's just low blows already, huh?
Well, my car's done now.
Oh, well,
so-
it is. It only took a couple of years.
If I was forced to pick a Japanese car, it'd probably be the 280Z.
Not bad.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Paco, what's yours, Paco? Let's hear it.
I would probably say like the Toyota Trueno minivan version.
Okay.
You know,
Sweet.
the Tofu Drift van. Fuck it.
Nice.
So
Okay. Well, there you go. Thanks for that super chat, Homer.
Homer.
Sorry. And hopefully we'll see you in Initial D soon.
yeah.
So now, Taylor, going on, working these bugs out. Engines blowing up. Shit not working. Not going to Long Beach. Building race cars over and over. Here we go. Your truck and trailer. You're rolling into LS Fest. How you
Yes.
feeling at this point? Are you confident in the car? Are you ready? Is this your time to shine? What was the point to go out there and just shake the car down and whatever happens, happens?
Like a,
What was the idea of just going out there and driving? What was it? Was it prepping for Texas? Was it, I'm going to take the championship from Holly?
It's a little bit of all that.
Nice.
So when we set the deal up with Comp, this was an important event for them. So this was one that we all circled on the calendar that we were all kind of collectively like, it'd be really cool to have Comp on the car and go out and, bang doors at LS Fest in a car that a lot of people out there really enjoy, and one that some people might scratch their heads over. So that was really cool. And all the Comp guys were there to see all that. And that was one of the only events that they could actually come out to. So that was a lot of the reasoning is they could be there. They could help see the car, hear it, watch it run. That was a lot of their first experience seeing drifting in person. And it was really cool being there and watching some of the other battles and explaining to the guys, how the scoring works and what the lead car is supposed to be doing, what the chase car is supposed to be doing, what the judges are looking for, and even where the clipping points are and whatnot on the track. So that was some of it. Obviously, we still wanted to make sure and confirm with ourselves that we got the bugs out and that it was going to hold oil pressure well and everything, and it all did exactly what it was supposed to do. But like I say, the only issue we had all weekend was a alternator going out. But I mean, that stuff happens. If you give me a spreadsheet of issues that can happen, that would be right at the top of my list of things that I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good. I was actually pretty confident going into that after the issues we've had and kind of the progress we've made, that it would work, because the issues we fixed generally haven't come up again. We put good valves in it and haven't had any issues there. And each time we fix something, we haven't revisited that, thankfully. So This was kind of the last frontier, and it's working.
And it seems like you guys had quite some good competition. I mean, there was James Evans Formula Drift veteran as well, with his Formula Drift car, right?
Yep, James was there, and James and I have some fun history. You know, back in 2015 when I first started in Pro 2, we partnered up with Sicky, and they brought my car out to 3 of the 4 rounds of the 2015 season before he bowed out of FD. So we know each other well. We had a good battle up at Seattle, which I was really kind of hoping we'd get to have a rematch there. I was telling him on the podium ceremony there, I'm like, damn you for losing a little bit, because I really kind of wanted a rematch there. But we had some really, really good battles. Battled Wood there in top 16, and that was, I felt like, one of the closer battles, actually. His car had a lot of speed and kind of surprised me, and he was able to keep up well. Nice. It was a tight course, so I wasn't able to use as much of the power that car puts out that I would like. So it kept things really even. So, you know, anytime some of the guys with LS cars that want to go out and play at LS Fest, don't think your car, just because it doesn't make quite as much power, is going to be at a huge disadvantage, because that track's pretty tight, and the bigger horsepower guys really can't put down all that power that they'd like to. So that really kind of evens things up. Then in top 8, we went up against Donati, who qualified first.
Geoff Donati.
Yeah. And,
super doof driver.
Yeah, he's very good, very impressive all weekend. Obviously, good enough to qualify first. So,
oh shit, okay,
that was really cool. Ended up taking the win there, and then going against Jonathan Hurst, who we're both sponsored by Dennis Huff and Affirm Consulting. So, some friendly rivalry there.
Teammate.
And, took the win there and ended up taking the whole deal. So that was. That was really cool. I think in the finals, it was going against a driver that came from LS, or came to LS Fest all the way from Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah,
so that kind of shows you how big that event has gotten.
We had our buddy Andrew Schulte, who he just got his FD license last year, and he was at Gridlife as well. He was partying with his also super doofed S13 with the anime. He's got all that hentai on the sides, Corey.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, and
people
are
really digging that car. You know?
Yeah,
it's another one kind of my style, where it, I say my style, very different from my style in the truest sense, but similar in the way that he likes to have something that stands out and different and attracts people to him. So that was cool to see, and he was a super nice guy. We were both really pumped to run against each other and get to go in the finals. That was really cool.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you took the big W.
We did. Had a really close chase, and he had a really, really good lead running. You know, they say it all the time. You have to have a really good lead to have a really good chase.
Yeah.
And he put down a really solid lead run. I was able to chase him pretty close, and then the track started to dry out there at the end of the competition. It was real spotty, wet, dry for the first part of the comp, and there toward the end, it started to dry out, and I think that was kind of the difference. We were actually able to put some power down there in that last run and pull away just enough to secure that W.
Nice. Well, congratulations, man. I mean, I think, a lot of people might say, the competition level is not the same, which it might not be, but it's still, it's an accolade. That's something you can show to your sponsors. That's something you can show to Cadillac themselves. Look, there's a car. It's delivering. It's a smaller event in comparison, as far as competition level. But dude, LS Fests are huge. How many cars attend those events? Overall, as in for show, for drag racing, for probably on the 200s, 300s, maybe more.
Oh no, there's more than that.
Yeah, there's 20,000 people in a few days.
I don't know how many cars were there, but it was ridiculous.
Insane.
There were cars as far as you could see, and there were vendors as far as you could see. It was wild. I'd never been to one because it's always the same weekend as FD Texas up until this year. So I was really excited to get to go this time, but it was unbelievable. I was not prepared for how big that event was going to be. It was really cool, and there were a lot of people there, so it was cool to be able to showcase drifting to all those people.
Was there a lot of the casual American all V8 kind of guy watching drifting and saying like, "Oh, there you go! Look at that Cadillac actually beating up all these Nissan guys."
Absolutely, there were a ton of those people. In fact, my wife in the stands, while she was spotting for me, kind of made friends with like 8 of those exact dudes that you just described, and the whole time was explaining a little bit of like I was doing with comp, kind of what drifting is, what the judges are looking for, and by the end of the time, they were all screaming and yelling and excited when we finally won. So it was absolutely those guys, and I think we converted them over to lifelong drift fans.
Dude, like once you go sideways, you'll never go straight.
No,
that's how the saying goes, right?
Yeah.
People that finally came over, they never went back over to the straight line stuff. They just stuck around and watched drifting.
Yep, drifted right out of the closet.
There you
Right on this racetrack.
Mom,
Yeah.
I just got to tell you something. I'm a drifter.
I like drifting. She's like, why?
Why? I thought we told you better.
Yeah,
taught you better than that.
Just start beating him with a ruler. Get out!
There goes your college fund.
And
Oh
then
God,
the mom,
Ricky, no!
Yeah, the mom calls the husband. Hey, babe, I got to tell you something. Oh, what's wrong with Ricky? I don't know if we should talk about this. I should probably get him. He's a drifter.
You need to sit down, honey.
Yeah, you need to sit down for this one.
You're tearing me apart.
Poor guys. They'll never change back.
So I didn't know. So is Tamara, your wife, is she spotting for you all the time on FD?
She always spots for me.
Nice.
Every event, pretty much. Well, not pretty much. Ever since we were doing oval track stuff, she's been my spotter, and all through Pro-Am, she is. I feel like people underestimate, people like her and some of the wives of the drivers, where they've been around this the whole time that we have been. So, if they take any interest at all, which she's taken a huge interest in it, you learn about it and you learn about the things you're interested in. And she's, an extremely effective communicator and where I need to be, and, watching the other drivers and seeing where they're gaining time and where I'm. She's always on me about my entries, talking about how I have to do better in that and get back on throttle quicker. And, she's not afraid to put me in my place a little bit on that and just hurt my feelings a little. So it's always good to have somebody that can be honest with you. And sometimes
Nice.
I feel like the people that you pay to be there,
She's
may
not
be
gonna
a little
hold
bit
the
more
punches.
likely to blow smoke up your dress.
Yep.
Nice.
See, my problem is I had my best friend as my spotter, and he's telling me poop jokes on the grid that I should not.
Hey, so how was
I'm gonna take my headset off. I'm gonna run to the shitter. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Well, I'm running in 5 minutes. All right. Well, just let me know how it goes. All right. I'll
It's
talk
like
to you in a minute.
watching Days of Thunder with they're eating ice cream on pit road, right?
Yep. That's life.
So what should I do? Like the next I'm going against Von Gidding Jr. Sweep the leg, Corey-san.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Just go out there. All right. Well, whatever you say, you're the boss. Okay.
All right.
See ya. I'll see you in the pits.
Yeah, her advice is always just go hit him. Go
Oh,
go
God.
chase him
Ooh.
down, try and hit him.
She might be a Von fan.
Yep. Jump him.
Von Hating
Or
Jr.
Denofa.
Yep. Both of them.
Well, there's the team ready to rock your doors.
So, going back LS Fest, you parked it. Your winner's circle. Winner, chicken dinner.
Obviously, right now everybody's just throwing money at you.
Yeah,
Everybody's
you're
like,
super rich now. You're wearing jewels. You're wearing like a nice white jeweled necklace right now. We
yeah.
can see it.
That's a golden hat right there.
Yep.
I basically look like Huggy Bear now.
Pretty much.
Going into Texas, how you feeling? What did you change? What did you learn? You have 2 rounds left. What are we doing?
So I was able to convince FD to just restart the points now.
Yeah.
Good job,
everybody's
man.
equal.
It's like NASCAR. You get take certain people, move them into a bracket. So
Can you do that in NASCAR?
NASCAR wakes you race to get into the chase. So
you gotta get into the
You gotta
chase.
get into the chase to be able to become a champion.
I've been telling you something. I've been
Which-
chasing tails since as I remember.
I just got to remember how the chase works. I think either if you win an event or something like that, you automatically entered in the chase, or you have to be somewhere positioned in point. I don't know. It's some weird thing I got to learn now.
You're pretty spot on.
Yeah, so it's something along.
It's not rocket science, Corey.
We're only taking the best, goddammit. Taylor, we seen nothing but greatness from you since Long Beach. You're gonna be in the chase, buddy.
That's right. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do, and then we're just gonna go win the last 2 events and win the championship.
There you go.
Sorry,
See,
James Dean.
dude, such a
Simple
good
plan.
strategy. I'm writing this shit down. I'm gonna write this down because you can't script this.
Actually, let's just script it so we can update it.
Yep.
So we can fax it to Ryan and
we
Ryan tomorrow.
We got to fire up the fax machine because we're not we're doing old school traditional.
Well,
we're hard copy. Hey Ryan, checks your fax because I sent something over.
We have an updated script
for
last minute
for the Chase Championship. Taylor Hall's taking the first 3 spots.
He's in the Chase.
Yeah, he's in the Chase this year now.
And he's going
That's
against
right.
himself in the finals,
Right,
by the
it's
way.
a buy run.
It's a buy.
Yep, buy run all the way through.
Yeah, I'll just
Done.
I'll take the best interview I've ever seen in FD and just kind of rewrite it for myself. You remember the deal? I think it was last year when Kristaps was about to go against James for the first time. He's like, "I'm coming for you, James Dean."
That's a
had-
perfect impersonation of
Kristaps
Kristaps. by the
probably
way.
has some of the best highlights for commentary.
His interviews are the
verbal
best.
and nonverbal commentary. Obviously, we just saw him try to punch Jeff Jones in the neck in St. Louis. We seen him told Osmo to go screw himself.
I'm blaming the rain.
He called everybody pussies at Long Beach because of the rain. What else? Yeah, he's going to be in the Chase now. Actually, we just figured out he is in the Chase.
I think he's been in the Chase since last year.
It's ever entered in the Chase.
Kristaps is the best.
He is an animal.
He's
dude.
absolutely.
He's definitely one of our favorite. He only drinks wine though.
White wine.
White wine. So you try to hand him a beer and he sips on white wine. That classy bastard.
Pinky's out.
Yep, pinky's out. Yeah, because I go to his pits and he gives me like a Bud Light orange, and then he drinks some very beautiful white wine with his very.
Well, because he knows you can't appreciate the aroma of a good wine, Corey.
Well,
So
I just
he'll
know what happens
give
to
you
me if I
shitty
drink
beer.
a cup of wine. He's gonna be pain in the morning, man. Barely making in that race suit before heading out. But yeah, he's another one that's good at commentary. Jeff Jones is actually another one that's getting better at commentary too, with actually taking his supercharger to the podium.
Yeah.
Obviously that one's going to go down in the memory books as one of the
Not,
best.
not only better at commentary, even better at driving and presenting himself as a driver. And I think we're seeing this a lot more on every driver in FD right now. I mean, dude, even like Farouk, he's just repainting his entire car. He's just coming out of the paint booth right now.
Right.
It's getting all fresh. It's gonna look sweet. He's got an E92. You know, like it's kind of like a similar situation. You and Farouk, you both had 240. You both had great 240s.
Yep.
You know, and then you came in this year with, boom, like new car. Let's look fresh, and definitely been paying a lot more attention to you guys. I mean, dude, Farouk was he was having so much fun at Gridlife,
What an animal.
and obviously, I mean Taylor with his
Stonewall.
crop duster.
Yep, just dusting everybody, leaving chemtrails across the track.
And let's not start with this
Yeah.
tinfoil hat conversation, Corey.
Yep, flatter.
But dude, yeah, I
That
mean,
thing's-
it's
It's so much fun to drive, but God, it is so slow. It is just the biggest turd ever. I've got to get with comp and get some go fast parts on that car because we finally tuned it. I took it down to Nicholas Performance, right, where I tuned my cars, and it made a beastly 296 horsepower.
what?
So yeah, we're gonna have to get like a fast intake manifold and some, at least a good comp cam and some like maybe double valve springs or something like that.
Let her breathe. But the other thing is like that car is actually super light. Like a lot of people has this conception that old American cars are super heavy. Do you know what's the weight on the Duster right now?
I haven't put it on the scales, but I would be willing to bet you that car is less than 3,000 pounds with me in it.
Yeah, because I think Brian and I Googled it a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't too heavy. I think it was like on the
I think it's like 2,800 pounds from the factory.
yeah,
man.
exactly. So
They aren't big, like ridiculous cars. When you push it around, you can tell that it's not a ridiculous car. And obviously, I've taken all the interior out. It's got aluminum racing seats in it, aluminum dash. They had those big, gaudy
fastback
iron
coupe.
block, iron-headed motors in them, and now it's got a pretty light, 5.3 in it, so it's a lot lighter.
1972 Plymouth Duster fastback coupe, 27,800 pounds.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. So I mean, I imagine with all the weight reduction, you have an iron block in it, right?
Yeah, it's got a 5.3 iron block.
Yeah, but dude, that car, the factory inline six was a boat anchor.
Oh, they're awful.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm telling you because I used to have I had a 70 Duster 303 slanted six.
3 on the 3.
3 on the 3. It was a one tire fire burnout machine. Let me tell you that.
But they're so slow. Even the 318s were just pigs too. I mean, none of those cars back then, you know, as much as all of the people would like to believe that they were fast, none of them really were all that
those
fast.
cars had the weirdest packages as well. Wasn't that the Duster? Wasn't one that came with a swinger model, like a swinger package?
No, that was the Dart.
Oh, but it's kind of pretty much the same car, right?
Yeah, they were all pretty similar.
It's a Dodge Dart, Plymouth Duster, same thing.
It's a trend Dodges. It's all Dodge Start and the Crop Duster. Dude, these guys, Dodge, get your act together.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I would have known that, I would have bought a Dodge. No.
Maybe you can dodge it,
Shard it.
ram it.
Yeah.
They had a lot of cool cars back in the day. They had the Demon, and they had all the crazy colors that they named wild stuff too. Like the purple was plum crazy,
the plum.
and the green was sublime, and they just had really cool stuff. And then came out with cars based off of TV shows like the Roadrunner. I mean,
They
they
even
just
had
did crazy stuff.
You
back
even
in
had the
70s.
cartoon on him. Hey, dude, Mopar or no car?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my car would leave something for everybody to hate because all the Mopar guys hate it because it's got a Chevy
Because
motor
it has
in
a Chevy engine, and then everybody else hates it because it's a Mopar.
Yeah, exactly.
And then everybody else hates it because it's not a 240.
It's half 240. It's at least cousins.
Yeah, they're half brothers.
What's the wheelbase on that thing?
I don't even know. I think like 110, 100. No, actually, no. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's like 117. It's a big car.
108. It's
Is that
short.
what it says?
Yeah, it's shorter than your Cadillac.
Jeez. Okay. Maybe it just feels that way because the quarters are so long.
It has a huge overhang, so that's how it was back then.
So
Yeah, I hope I don't ever hit anything with that car because there's really not a whole lot.
It's gonna be expensive for you because whatever you hit is gonna get destroyed.
So
Yeah, man, following all those guys around at Gridlife, like when I was following the Top Garage guys, I think it was Emmett or Sloan or somebody, dipped off in the dirt and it busted my windshield, it busted the headlights, like almost knocked a hole in the radiator. It was just rowdiness at Gridlife.
Yeah. I think it was that was like part of like showing. I mean, I'm so glad you managed to finish that car for Gridlife
that's
because it
perfect.
definitely like it was also like second round for the boss. That was also I think it was the first time for Farouk. First time for a old muscle car with a V8 with Wisefab. There's the dryer's ready.
Yep, driver's ready again.
So it was a good round, like a good Gridlife, like a lot of firsts.
Yeah, that thing's
That drone was killing it. You got some dude. Yeah, there's some sweet drone footage of your car.
yeah, and people really seem to dig it too, like a lot more than I thought would.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that came over and
Crazy thing is, it reminds me more of the Nova from Death Proof than the General Lee.
yeah, it's kind of a good mix of everything. I feel like
Yeah.
we wanted to make it something all its own, but kind of have some tribute to some of the stuff that got me into cars, which Dukes of Hazzard was certainly one of those things. I got my Boar's Nest T-shirt on.
There you go. So actually, yeah, explain what's the name Stonewall, because a lot of people might not know.
So that's just a tribute to like what the General Lee was, and all the good old Mopars were named after Southern generals. So that's what Stonewall is.
It was a general.
Oh yeah, Stonewall Jackson.
Paco needs to brush up on his American history.
I need to make sure if he was fighting on the right side or the wrong side. So I'm just gonna stop right there. Like the whole controversy with the General Lee, which I think is dumb. Just let that car be.
No, it's to me, it's just it's what got me into cars, and just watching that old car slide around on dirt roads, and that's what it is to me. It's
dude.
Good fun.
I agree. To me, like the Dukes of Hazzard was the introduction of sliding cars around. Like my two favorite shows when I was a kid was Dukes of Hazzard and Knight Rider. And I will just I maybe I didn't even know what was going on, but I would love to see these guys just sliding. That was my favorite thing. See the car going sideways, the tires turning the other way. Mm-hmm. Brown rooster
mud.
Tails. Huh?
Yeah, brown mud flying out.
And the best part is every time they jump, they freeze the scene. Oh, those damn Dukes kids are definitely gonna get some trouble after then. Go to commercials.
Comes back.
Go real quick, grab some food, and then go back to the TV, and then they're finally landing, and then the Daisy Duke.
Man,
mommy.
Oh.
Hey.
Definitely the first crush.
Paco's first crush was Bo Duke.
Hey. This is the curls, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, Bo, your mom walks in your room one day and you just have Daisy Duke pictures thrown away, and then Bo's just all up on your wall.
Well, he was the driver, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time,
just pictured Bo sliding across your bed.
Yep, that's it.
Hey, I mean, don't hate. He ended up being Superman's dad.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, was that on Smallville? Yeah, he played Superman's dad. What's his name?
Clark? No.
Uncle? No, whatever. This is not maximum TV cast, but that's
Sings
as much
country music so he can lull you to sleep too.
just the good old boys. Never meant no harm.
You're the most American dude in Guadalajara.
I love that show, man. It's like that. That's what got me into cars, man.
That's funny.
Dukes and Knight Rider.
See, that just shows how old you are, because everybody's like, now it's like, oh, Fast and the Furious got me in. And here you are, Dukes of Hazzard. And
well, dude, my dad used to, because I had, small little baby hands.
yeah, you still do.
Yeah, So he was the one, all right, Paco, stick your hand in there, and I'll turn, the carburetor, I used to help my dad.
Paco, bring your little baby-ass hands over here.
Yep. Child labor. That's a Mexican thing, man.
Yep. That's it. It still is. Damn it, Paco. So going forward, we're going to see you in Texas. We're going to see you at Irwindale. What should we expect from Taylor Hull going into 2019? Because we're getting there. People are talking about what we're doing next year. What's the plans? Where we're What are you doing next year? What's your game plan?
Well, first of all, we're committed to run again. We're
boy.
excited about do what?
I said, oh boy, here we go. Let's do it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're all in. I didn't build a brand new car to run 1 year and shut it down. So we're gonna commit to do it. We're headed out to SEMA after Irwindale. We're gonna show the car out there. I think if everything goes right, we're probably gonna rewrap it and maybe do a different livery out there just to show off some different stuff that we have going on. So that should be pretty cool. And
please come back with a black livery.
No.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Something about a black Cadillac.
Dude, I love your original design so much. It was black.
Photographers don't like shooting black cars.
Well, but it wasn't all black. It was pretty much it was very Intimidator. Black with a red accents, and it was a gray bottom, right? Like a silver.
Yeah, it was. It was almost a carbon copy of Earnhardt's paint scheme, which anybody that kind of knows me, I'm a little bit of a diehard Dale Earnhardt fan too.
Yeah.
Me and Pat Gooden.
Pat Gooden was sweating about it. He was I'm telling you, I tell the whole boy, it's not a great Cadillac.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just got Paco moister than an oyster talking about your old livery.
My suit is a Dale Earnhardt tribute too. It's just his suit, just with their colors reversed.
There you go. And I saw you had the Days of Thunder dust glass goggles.
Oh yeah. I got those amber goggles with the open face helmet, the bubble goggles.
Yep,
dude. You should not. The only thing missing, you should be smoking Marlboro while driving.
All the cool kids did it back in the day. Might as well bring it back, right?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Or
okay with that.
At least a vape pen.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
super modern. Get it like a triple battery vape pen that you're chucking clouds.
Yeah,
Chucking
well
clouds.
spouts out of the car.
Connected to the car's battery.
Yeah, you could.
How how they have like the little hose for like ventilation
For water and
like
yeah,
hose,
just a straight vape.
like a hookah, just like blowing.
That thing is so fun to drive. Like I really built it to drive on the street. I drive the car to work frequently, and
What, the Cadillac?
Yeah, no, the Duster.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I picked our daughter up from dance class not too long ago. I was Facebook Live in that. She was none too impressed.
I bet she loves it. Like, oh my god, here comes Dad in his old car.
She was quite embarrassed because I wouldn't leave her, and she was right in front of her friends.
Do a
I wouldn't
burnout in
leave
front of
until
her
she put
school.
her 5-point harness on.
Do a burnout in front of her school.
Yeah, people might not like that. And to be totally honest, like I drive the car with Achilles 285s on the back. That car won't even spin the tires
What?
on the normal street tires.
I'm still trying to figure out how to connect a vape machine to your car so you can vape while driving. I'm still stuck on that.
Let's figure something out. It will definitely be a thing.
Guys pull into the pits. Taylor, what do you need? Well, I just ran all out of custard. Load me up. And they're like, all right, we'll put some custard vape juice in there, buddy. Get back out there. 20 to go.
And mellow yellow flavor.
mellow yellow flavor.
It's like the reverse deal of what you need to start your car after you get a DUI.
There you go. That'll be awesome. Hey man, are you ready for some Instagram questions or what?
Let's do it.
You ready? Man, these people.
Iron Dookie got anything for
Iron
you?
Dookie,
dude.
I want to hit you with that one first because it's one of my favorite questions.
I haven't looked ahead.
Don't look because I want to read him. I want to read Iron Dookie's right now.
Iron Dookie brought a
And I
real
already
banger.
liked it and commented on it because I loved it so much. Here, let me go back
That's the
up.
very first one.
All right, here we go. Iron Dookie for Taylor Hull. As a driver, have you ever farted in your race suit and accidentally Dutch ovened yourself in your helmet?
Frequently. It's awful. It's the worst. You can't escape.
I was just
Open the visor.
Yeah, I literally I said, wow, that was the most technical question we've ever had on
Best
the show.
question I've heard yet.
Yeah.
That's so far.
That's a
That's
very
why you need the open face helmet, man. You got to bring it back.
That's why Dell would. That's why. Isn't that why Dell crashed? He wears a full face, crop dusted, and smoked the wall. Poor guy.
The goggles just got
Just fogged
foggy.
Get it
What a
out!
great question.
Get it out!
Oh man, Dukester, you keep up doing yourself.
Here's another first time caller, first time listener for you. This is from Macho Man Randy Sanchez. Would you rather have flying snakes or cats that breathe fire? That's another
That's a
good
tough
one.
one.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
I feel like cats that breathe fire.
Yeah.
That's actually it's a thing on Grand Theft Auto 5. It's a mod where you can run around as a cat breathing fire on people.
Oh, really? See, Big Balls with dropping game knowledge on
pop
us.
culture.
Yeah, Big Balls dropping knowledge, serious knowledge.
Let's see. I have one from username Atlanta Drift. What is your favorite round in FD and why is it Atlanta? Well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I love Atlanta because I love the fans here and having family that can come and be close. I'm probably one of the outliers that really, really enjoys Orlando. Even though we've had a ton of trouble down there, the track's fun. I enjoy the huge transition off the bank, but we've pretty much blown up or wrecked every time we've been there. So I don't know why I love it that much, but that's a fun track, and I'm looking forward to going back to Irwindale. I haven't gotten to go there since 2015, but that place is gnarly.
How confident you feel right now to go to Long Beach on the ATS?
I feel good now. I think it probably worked out for the best though that it didn't all come together right there for the beginning of this season, because we were having gremlins like we had out there with walls all around. It probably wouldn't have ended well.
Let's see what else we have right here.
Here's a question for you. This is from Barnhill. What area of your team would you most like to develop going into 2019?
Probably having the same people come and help at every event. I think that there's a lot of benefit there, and just having people that are familiar with the car and familiar with the way everything works and the event flows, that would probably be something that I would hope to have happen next year.
Does make a big difference, doesn't it?
Yes, extremely big difference. Nothing against anybody. It's just difficult. It would be difficult if I had never worked on somebody's car and I came out to help Osbo, in the next round. I don't know anything about that car, so it just makes it more difficult to try and learn the car, especially in a high pressure situation when you're on a 5-minute call or something. You don't know anything about what size bolts the axles are, or just something dumb like that. You just need to be familiar with what you're working on, and I think that would be a tremendous help for us.
I have a question on YouTube, actually, from Georgy Kalashnikov. He says, will you go to Russia if Kabargin hits you up? Kabargin might be some driver.
Kabargin's the dude who drove the Corvette.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go.
HGK.
Yeah, man, I'd love to go anywhere and go drive. Anything with wheels on it that I can afford to go do, I would love to go do. After the final round, or maybe I think it's before Irwindale, actually, we're planning on doing a endurance race at a local dirt track here in Sonoa, Georgia. It's a $250 entry fee. They start 99 cars, and it's 6 hours. One who completes the most laps wins. So anything I can drive, anywhere I can drive, I'm happy to do it. I'd love to go to Russia and go drive.
Funny thing is, he actually sent us a super chat question, which is in Russian.
And it says, hello, bandits.
Yeah.
That's probably Google Translate destroying the Russian language.
I think what he was trying to say is in memory of the bandit.
In the memory of the bandit.
Burt Reynolds, man.
Oh, that's right, dude. Yeah, we lost the bandit this week, man. Dude, like, obviously, as soon as I saw the news, you know what the first thing I did? I went on Craigslist and looked for Trans Ams.
Oh, before
it's like that was my favorite F body ever. I used to have a 78 Camaro, same body style, but I wanted a Trans Am so bad because that was like another one of my favorite movies. So that'd be cool to see one of those Trans Ams drifting. No, Georgie
maybe
says
that'll be my next
good.
crazy project.
Dude, please do it.
That would be a sweet one. That'd be something totally different and something else that people wouldn't get pissed if you put an LS in.
I'm just saying. I mean, Pat Gooding and I were talking about this crazy project at Gridlife. We're trying to get him to drift a Monte Carlo SS. And I think that'll be the best thing ever. So, I don't know, man. You want to be... You already have the Duster, but... You want to be like the bandit.
Yeah, I just got to shave my beard into a mustache and grow a much, much more impressive one.
Mm-hmm.
Get a cowboy hat. I can make it work.
See, look at the most men of the 70s and 80s had mustaches, man.
You already have the mustache.
Sign of power,
so
baby. Sign of power.
That's what it is?
Oh, yeah.
Is that how you take over? Like every
Listen to me.
Every room you're walking, as soon as you're like, like, oh, shit.
They're like, guy's a fucking dick broom on his lips. Like, come on, don't say that out loud. Back off, bud. Come on. Here's a question. Took Lingy, this is first time messenger, first time caller. How much does winning LS Fest help your program? Sponsorship help? Is there any financial gains? What do you benefit or what do you feel you get from winning LS Fest?
Well, it paid $1,500 to win, so I mean, it never hurts to pad your wallet a little bit.
Nope.
To get out to the rest of the year.
That's how it's done, man.
I was pretty excited with just that little piece. But I mean, honestly, it just helps with confidence. No, it's not an FD event. I mean, the competition's not what Pro 1 competition is. Obviously, it's not. There's not everyone in Pro 1 there. But just to prove to ourselves that the car will stay together and that we can bring it all together and get it done and close the deal as a team was really cool. And again, to have all the comp guys there. It was just pretty special. That's probably one of the bigger wins of my drifting career, even though it's not an FD. It's something we're proud of. So I would say it's a big deal for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And LS Fest is now, especially expanding to LS Fest West, and they have the traditional Bowling Green. It's one of those events now where it's like that's one to check off your list if you want to win an event. There's obviously Formula Drift, Pro-Am, LS Fest. It's getting up there now.
Dude,
for sure is.
I think it'll be hilarious if Brian showed up with the LS 400. Like,
hey, LS Fest.
They told me it was an LS Fest.
Yeah, Lexus
what
LS.
the hell?
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild. I think there was an LS there, but I think it had an LS.
LS
in
power.
it. Yeah.
LS, the LS.
There's some wild stuff. There was another Duster there with an LS in it too.
What?
Did
What
you
a
guys fight?
Dem copycat.
No, his is kind of pretty sweet. I follow him on Instagram. It's Project Recycled. But that thing, I think it's on like a full vet chassis. It's like a full body swap kind of deal. But he did autocross and red
That's
course
sick.
stuff with it. It's pretty wild.
So it's just like a body swap.
Yeah, it kind of puts mine to shame. It's a really nice car.
He's like, no, I put mine on a brand new Stingray chassis. He's like, what'd you do? I put 1989 subframes from the 240 SX in mine. And he's like, Tommy.
Classic move right there. I have a question from Barn Hill. What are your what area of your team would you most
Already
like?
asked.
Oh, you,
Yep.
wait. Oh, sorry.
Yep. Paco,
My
you're
bad.
in the phone
Paco
zone.
was asleep on that one.
Yeah, he was in the phone zone.
I was chugging some Doc Daniels. So, my bad.
I had a quick question.
All right, go for it, Brian.
With your experience so far now with campaigning with a newer car, an American car, with what you've experienced so far, do you feel that there's other American cars around that year or that generation of newer cars that could also see this kind of opportunity with the right support from a driver who's motivated?
AKA, will a Lincoln Mark 8 will make it on FD?
Yeah, maybe not that old, but I mean, like he went with a newer car. Is there other newer American cars that you could see having this same kind of opportunity and capability in drifting besides the ATS? Like, did you do any research that way?
Yeah, we looked at a few. Obviously, the new Camaro is much better and much more suited for drifting, I feel, than the older one like Conrad and Tyler ran. Because the new one is basically the same car as what the ATS is. They're both on what they call the Alpha platform. So they're the same wheelbase, same width, or very similar width at least. So that car is one that would be very viable for drifting the newer Camaros. Obviously, it's proven that the Mustangs are. The Challenger, we explored that a little bit. Even the Hellcat deal, like even though they make plenty of power, I just feel that one is a little too big to be a competition FD car. I mean, I know Hubinet and them guys did it back in the day, even with the Chargers, which are bigger than the Challengers. But I think in current FD, I don't think that one would cut it. I think it's just simply too large. We looked at a few others. I think the CTS-Vs would work, but they're a little bit bigger too. And I've found that the longer the wheelbase you get, the slower it is to transition, even if it is a little more stable. But I think kind of that 109, 110, maybe 111, like Odie's Genesis, that's kind of the tip of what
Max.
you want to have,
Yeah.
I think.
Do you think like the older American cars has talking to these companies? Do they still make parts for like older Mustang Cobras or the older Camaros even?
Oh yeah, there's still a ton of companies that make parts for them because there's still a ton of guys out there that drag race those cars and build them at the grassroots level.
Interesting.
I was a typical Mustang kid back in high school. I had like 10 or 12 Mustangs growing up, so I did a lot of swapping and stuff on those. And there's still a lot of companies that make parts for those cars still because there's still a lot of them out there. Like my missile car is a 2000 Mustang GT. And
Nice.
My wife's in the background stomping her foot because it actually is her car. So,
She's like, my car.
So you see,
we
it's
bought it with the promise to teach her how to drift, and the schedule just hasn't worked out for me to do that, unfortunately. So I'm still promising her that I'm going to do that this off season.
So you still see it viable then for even the older American cars that are rear-wheel drive to have potential and competitiveness in drifting, even in Pro-Am then?
Absolutely. That Mustang GT that we have is absolutely bone stock drivetrain. We welded the diff, put some, relatively inexpensive coilovers on it. I've made my own angle kit at home, and that thing drives fantastic. If it had another 150 horsepower, I'd run that car in Pro-Am all day long.
And the cost of building them between, say, like a 240 or that Mustang?
It's not even close. It's way cheaper to do the Mustang. I have $1,600 in that car, all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the coilovers, with the angle kit, with e-brake, everything. $1,600. You can't even get a running 240, much less a drift ready 240 for even close to that.
Nope.
And this car, and you'd still have to swap it to make the kind of power that a stock Mustang GT makes. And not only that, it's still in factory form, so it's the way Ford designed it to run. So the car never runs hot. Power steering works. Like everything's just working the way it was always intended to. So you really don't have any issues with them.
Gotcha.
Nice. We got a super chat here just real quick. I want to bring it up. Georgie Kalashnikov.
I send you a link, Brian.
Once
Check
again,
it
he
out.
just says, can you guys judge my drift clip on my channel, but actually judge it? He goes, I would love to. I need pro tips that would help.
I just
So
sent
let's see.
the
Let's-
link to
let's see
Brian.
if we
So
can
Brian is
see,
getting that real quick.
Let's see if we can see Georgie drifting real quick, and then we'll all judge him. And if it's terrible, then we'll have to break his little heart, his little Russian heart.
It's. I hope it's some actual Russian Lada, or like a
Well, he's
very,
missing
very,
K-pop music for one, from what I see.
Yeah. So far, the judging is not going in your favor, Georgie. So let's see if make it a full screen, Brian. So
Big Balls is manning the helm.
there you go. So let's cut it. You can
All right,
see
here
it
we
as
go.
well, Taylor. So let's check it out.
All right, so it looks like he has a little sim rig set up. Big Balls. Brian, can you give us some commentary? This is right up your alley. Let's see, Big Balls. Oh, he's
You get
zooming in on the flames.
Little bit closer to the outside there, but he's holding a good line.
Okay, keep going, Brian.
Nice transitions. Inside.
And then,
that was a little
cut
quick
that
cut.
spin out. Okay, comes
Point
in.
deduction.
He's doing a full Jumanji down the
Yeah,
front straight. Look at
yeah,
that smoke,
yeah.
just pouring smoke out the back.
Getting to the
transition.
see, that's a good line there, going the outside in that corner. A lot
Okay,
of people try
good.
to cut in tight.
Cut and tight. Good
Yeah.
call, Brian. I like that.
Yeah,
And then he
see,
comes out to the outer wall, and
right
this
up
looks
to
like there's some
Kermit.
spray paint
He needs
next to
to-
Kermit the Frog. Goes out to. Oh, look at that.
Nice.
Brian, how would you judge that? 1 to 100.
The run could definitely do some improvements, but he definitely has smooth transitions. He's running more in the middle of the line. Some
Yep.
parts he could go outside a little bit more,
Good.
but he's got to hit Kermit in the nuts in order to get those
Put
points.
Sweet.
your
So I
hands
did-
together for Georgie Kalashnikov, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, well done. I do appreciate the skid marks he's laying down. As always, wonderful job, Georgie.
What do you think, Taylor?
Was that cool, Taylor?
Got to fill the outer zones, but like he said, you're kind of running in the middle of the track there. But overall, pretty fun to watch. It's good stuff.
I wasn't expecting Assetto Corsa, but fine.
Yep.
I'm absolutely terrible at those games. FYI, I've tried to do Forza. I've run a little bit with Assetto Corsa, and I'm not good at those.
It takes a long time to get good at him with like a wheel and a sim rig. I can't even use a controller at all to drift on any of them. So it don't feel like it's anything.
Well, Paco, do you
It
remember?
just takes a long
do you
time.
remember we went to Turn 10 Studios and it's like this giant sim rig, and they're like,
Yeah.
pull the apron off, and they're like,
got
here's
these
your guys'
amazing-
car. And it's like they're giving you this tour of this car. I'm like, please hop in and drive. And there's 15 people standing around you like, sweet, we're going to see him drive his car. And then the first thing you do is smash it into a wall. And the hood and bumper.
Everybody's watching.
And then you get back on the gas in the grass, and you're spinning out across the course, and you just look like an asshole in front of 50 people. And they're
Well,
like,
I mean, Justin Pollock was driving his car, and he was kind of like just cruising, and he's
Not
grabbing,
even drifting.
He grabbed his
Just
kid like, "Hey, you
waving.
drive, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna."
Yeah, anytime I
easy.
run one of those video game rigs, I look like the goofs from the highlights at Ibisu. It's bad.
yeah, did I ever tell you the sim story about Odie?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he literally played the simulator for 10 minutes, walked up back and
It
threw
was
up
it was a
everywhere.
motion one too that was moving around, right? I think
Yeah.
it was the motion that was throwing him off. I bet you if
We-
it didn't move, he might have.
We were
not
at
had
Pikes
experience.
Peak. Yeah, we were at Pikes
Yeah.
Peak International Raceway for the hill climb, and we go to this private bar. This dude has like a huge car collection. He invites a lot of the guys out to come like hang out, have dinner. So it's like I have this private room, probably this 10 times the size of the studio with this giant rig in it. Odie hops and starts driving it, and you see him just start turning green. You see the car fly off the cliff, and he hops out the seat, walks out back, and sprays vomit everywhere. That poor guy.
Projectile vomit.
Yep.
I have one last question
1-1.
before,
Get it, Paco.
before we get let him go. This is from username Gay Andy.
Oh,
This is race service right here. Is what you've been watching. You've been watching, buddy. He's asking. Oof.
this is tough.
All right. Number one. It's a two-part question. Number
I'm
one,
ready.
who do you think you are?
Oh, fuck.
2, where do you get off?
Wow.
Well, I am Taylor, and it's mine and my wife's anniversary tonight. So
What? Boom in your face, Andy.
Congratulations.
so
Congratulations.
we're gonna,
Do some
my
research.
wife in the background shaking her hands. I don't know. We'll open the hot dog jar later.
Awesome. Taylor, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for not being afraid to change the game up and bring a Cadillac out and ditch the norm.
Thank you for bringing like different cars.
Yeah.
Like, that's my shit. That's my jam right there.
Yeah,
like
but
different original
The thing
stuff.
is, but Taylor, those he finishes it.
Yeah, well, that's. I'm looking up. Can I say
Yep.
I'm looking up to him?
Yes, you are.
'Cause
That's
that's the
true.
part that I'm missing.
Yes.
Finishing the cars.
Yep. You got
My-
so many cool cars.
I just got new. I just
pick
got
one
new,
at a time.
I just got new tires for the Cadillac yesterday.
Yep.
They are fitting a lot better. I'm gonna put
Good.
a little bit. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna have a little bit of camber because I have to. Otherwise, they won't fit.
Yep.
And it'll be sweet. It'll be sweet.
Yep. So thank you, Taylor. Before we let you go, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you guys so much
Yeah.
for having me. I'm always excited to come and hang out with you
Whoa.
guys and BS about cars and drifting and
Yeah, buddy.
fun events that we have going on. I'm anxious to see Paco get some of that stuff finished up too. I'd love to
No
have
pressure.
a tandem session with the Duster and the Jay-Z Corvette. That'd be really cool.
Soon,
Yeah.
soon it'll happen.
Awesome, buddy. Well, we'll be seeing you this weekend. I'm sure you're heading out tomorrow as you get some testing time on Thursday. You'll be heading out soon, but we'll see you out there and wish you the best of luck.
Absolutely. See you guys soon.
Have a good
All
night,
right, brother.
Taylor.
We'll see ya.
Yeah.
All right, hang up on him already, Brian. Can't wait to talk. There you go. Is he gone? There you go.
Man.
What do you think, Corey? Whew. This guy's quite something, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think we can do that. The hating the
The
guest
thing is,
part
is
anymore.
here's the thing. This is what I realize. Drifting came from Japan to the United
Yeah.
States, right? So we got to stay pure. We got to stay pure.
How are we going to
How do you mean by pure?
Just we got to stay JDM. Right?
JDM as
we
well.
got we're drifting. You know, this Japanese is drifting, and then you have bullies like Taylor, who is trying to convert everybody, stealing the soul with these crazy American builds.
Soul sucking
This
American.
soul sucking American bastard.
with them rumbles.
Jeez. Hey Taylor, what do you want to drive in Initial D? A Duster, dude. Oh, sucking
your-
the soul out of it.
I don't never heard of a Toyota Duster. What's that?
Actually, I'm quote me wrong. There's a Renault Duster, and I'm willing to bet there's some Japanese car that took that name at some point. But I agree.
What?
Quite a bully. He's just
No,
like
the all-American
screw
bully.
your hentai.
Those
and
loudmouth
screw your anime."
Americans. Yeah.
I showed that Itasha hentai 240 car at the LS Fest, whose boss,
Yeah.
and
We're bringing drifting back to America. We're bringing it back.
It's like he's hanging on carcasses of Japanese cars on his American
yeah.
cars trophies and just sliding around in
soon
it.
he's going to
It's
start
like,
little notches
Yeah.
right on the side of his door of every
Yeah.
Japanese car he takes
I
out.
heard
What a
that
bully.
when he defeated Andrew at LS Fest, he didn't even drive the car. He used to stand next to it and tell like,
Andrew said
What a
it.
piece
Andrew
of shit.
called
And-
no.
and I was like-
yeah, he made Andrew
That's
call
it.
5 minutes and then forfeit.
Yeah.
He didn't even run. He's like, you
That's-
better call. He's like,
that's-
why?
he just had to fire it
Yeah,
up.
just
That
have
was
this-
it.
yeah.
it's the American way.
So that's the American bully, Taylor Hall, right there.
Are we gonna call him that now? The American
Yeah,
bully.
Sure.
I am an American
is that
bully.
Is that the name of the episode?
Yeah, the American
The
bully.
American bully.
Sure. Taylor Hall, yep, bringing it back. No, good dude.
All
Obviously
American
wish him-
bully.
Yeah, wish him best of luck, obviously, as he's doing so much.
Yeah.
And brave to bring a new car to the series and develop it and learn it. But you know what? You live and learn, and you got people to trust them and believe in, and that's all that matters.
Again, that's the other thing. Like by bringing another brand and new sponsors, you're helping the whole series.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
and dude, Cadillac has quite a history of racing. Like the last 20 years, 15, 20 years, Cadillac has been. They had a big presence on Le Mans. They've been breaking records, speed records,
Yeah.
factory speed records at the Nürburgring. Like they're very serious about actually racing. So the fact that now we have officially a Cadillac drifting, and
Yep.
I mean, it's not winning yet. It's understandable.
It just
but
takes
it's-
moves.
but it's doing good.
Here's
Like,
the thing: is a lot of times you bring a new chassis underdeveloped,
Yeah.
you're not expected to win.
Yeah.
You're just expected to go out there and perform.
Yeah.
And that's expectations.
Yeah.
Even you talk to Forsberg, who's run the same chassis, brings a new engine package in.
Yeah.
We're just
Whole
looking to
season,
perform.
it's terrible.
We're just looking to drive. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We're just coming out here to drive and debut it. So
Yeah.
what he's doing is just it's that's the bar. He's
Yeah.
just doing what it takes. And so yeah, kudos to him. Obviously, we'll see him in Long Beach. What am I talking about? Different planet. As I'm already thinking about 2019, because right now is the time where you literally are figuring out what is everybody doing for next year. Now's the time. So when you walk into SEMA by Halloween,
Isn't that crazy?
it's
Like, there's
already
still-
planned out and done.
There's still 2 rounds to go, and a lot of people's already like thinking,
Oh, dude,
what am I doing?
It started 2 rounds ago. Thinking about it started 2 rounds ago. Usually about the halfway point, 4 rounds in. All right, let's start planning for next year. So I think everybody kind of has a game plan for what they're doing. Yeah, now's the time. And so he already made the commitment now that he's running full steam next year, which is great. It's a big commitment.
Yep.
Got some people behind him. It's all that matters, man, little by little.
It was great to hear that he, the process he went through in getting to the point to where he's at to start drifting that Cadillac too. Like he went through a few chassis. He had to like buy, sell, trying to get something to kind of work. And he had, through those failures, he learned enough times to get something that a system that works, and it paid off.
I mean, for those who don't know, Brian Big Balls, he just got himself a Lincoln Mark 8 LSC, which is a pretty badass. It's pretty much like a Mustang Cobra in a Lincoln package.
Yeah, it's got the intake. It's got the Cobra intake with it as well. They don't normally come with it, but when I bought it, it came with it.
His is pretty modified. It's got the shift kit. It has different
The Cobra Kai intake.
the Cobra Kai intake. It's got a different diff.
has a slam shifter in it.
410
on the
gears,
floor,
J-Mod.
two on the
2 on the door.
Yeah.
It's
tuned.
triple black.
Has the tilt steering wheel for more headroom.
Yeah.
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 And
Because I need that.
Yeah.
but I mean, if you think about that car, has factory independent suspension
All the way around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a relatively modern car for a car that came out in like 93, 94.
98. Yeah, they started in 94,
Yeah.
and like with the Thunderbirds, they were all independent suspension even back then. Yet the Mustangs all
Yeah.
came out with live axle. I was always really curious, why didn't they transfer independent rear suspension to the Mustangs
Because
back then?
independent suspension was meant for luxury
Yeah.
or for like higher performance Mustang Cobra. And the Mustang
Oh,
Cobra
yeah, that's right.
had
That
the
one
right
had.
hand suspension.
that
I just
one
thought
had,
Paco
but-
likes his suspension like he does his women.
independent.
Independent.
INDEPENDEAT.
Ah.
Don't you know what I mean?
Yep. See, so it all works together. Now I'm learning more about you, Paco, day by day. Even
Every
though I've
day,
known you
man.
for a long time.
But yeah, I would love to see more original cars. Like, I mean, obviously, Brian, whenever you get bored of your new badass daily driver, I know you're gonna end up turning into a drift car. So
Maybe.
eventually, I'm
maybe.
talking about like probably 5 years.
Maybe.
Um,
Got another car still in front
but
of
yeah,
that one.
definitely appreciate people bringing in different original vehicles. That Duster, I mean, since I saw it, I was like, this car is gonna be a hit.
Also, there's I can't remember the kid's name, but there's a kid drifting a black Mark 7, which is basically a Mustang GT, but a Lincoln, right?
It's it's a Fox body,
Fox body,
Lincoln
yeah.
Mark 7, and I think some of those might even come with manual transmission factory. So
Manuele.
And then there's another kid in that orange 3rd gen Camaro with the hood missing.
dude, I love that car.
That's
yeah.
a pretty sweet car
It's
too.
looking pretty. It's pretty
So,
bad.
so those older
More
cars are
and more
coming.
people.
They're slowly coming
Yeah.
into play regularly now.
Yeah, I know. Corey's been looking at Camaros recently.
A little bit, yeah. I've been
Yeah.
I've been looking for another car right now.
My
3rd gen
surprise.
Camaro, I always thought, at least by the numbers, I looked at that car for a while, and I always considered it like just by the numbers, looking at the wheelbase where you can put everything. It seems like a great chassis for getting into drifting or
Other
having
than the
a
solid
really
rear
great-
axle, which we can always say that Vaughn.
Well, there's
swears.
also
yeah.
abilities for new rear ends and those things.
It doesn't have to be independent rear suspension to go sliding. It was,
I mean,
as we
even the
just talked about earlier. It's just
A86 is our live
yeah,
axle. So
yeah, live axles fine. You
just have to
just
get a
make it
good
work.
solid suspension.
Paul,
setup.
real quick, Paul Valenchkov, super
Velikov.
chat. Did you guys watch Drift Masters?
Oh,
and
dude!
what's your thoughts?
So we have to talk about it on the next episode because obviously it's too much. It's
Dude,
it's big.
we need to get Brian Egan on here. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
gonna try to reach him because that dude is working his butt off. That dude is doing so much right now for drifting, especially going to the final round of Drift Masters. James Dean just won the championship.
James Dean is just killing the entire world, obviously. Taking over.
But they have Dean Kearney force weighing in his own car. They're going back to Modella Park, where an Irish guy hasn't lost in X amount of years, and now they're bringing out some heavy hitters.
It's going to be a
it's going to be one of the biggest drift events of the year for sure.
Definitely,
and even the Drift Masters and what round was that? Where it was in the arena?
The first one, it wasn't the first one. I don't remember the round name, but I remember it was a very complex.
They are putting on
round,
the one Ryan Sage and Jim Lyle went to, and everybody went to, and
that was pretty cool to see. Like they're actually wasn't Ryan Sage commenting?
Very mild commentary, yeah.
On the last one,
but that's the thing is. Drift Masters has the resource to build an arena-style drifting. Why haven't we got there yet?
That's the ultimate
You know what I
question,
mean?
yeah.
Like, why have we not been able to experience that yet? And Drift Masters is a much younger drifting organization. And obviously, for Formula Drift being as large as it is, they could have filled that stadium. You know what I mean? If you had the same amount of attendance at Irwindale in that arena, it would have been... Dude.
The only thing I can imagine that stadium drift might be a limitation is that maybe the standard Formula Drift car might be a little too big. Or too?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, as far as power wise,
I don't think so. James Dean's car, and dude, some of those cars out there are absolutely wild.
And
you know what I mean? There's some wild builds. The twin turbo 1UZ,
right?
S13. There's cars. James Dean still making 600-700 horsepower.
And giving them a place to be able to have a different skill set being challenged by a tighter course, I think is just as essential. Because that's why NASCAR, they're not all ovals. They do actually have some road courses. And, aside from technicalities, they're changing it up. They're trying to add more for the drivers to be able to show exhibition of skill.
Think about this. The track technicality. It's not going to be super fast, but the tandem is probably going to be the best tandem you'll see all year because of the speeds. They had fireworks and great displays for the fans. But the other thing, too, is, I love Atlanta, but the fans only get to engage in the cars at pretty much the keyhole coming down the hill, which I think that fan interaction of being able to almost feel the cars they go by is very slim at a lot of the tracks. New Jersey is another great place where you can kind of get a good sense. Yeah. And the best part of New Jersey is you can see the whole course. The problem with New Jersey is it's small that it can't fit tons of people. But a stadium... You can see the course from start to end very close. The interaction between driver and fan, the additional spectacles of fireworks and flames and display. I'm all
everything
is there for it.
I'm all for it.
And I wouldn't blame the cars because the cars would have to adapt. Just like when NASCAR goes to a big track, you got to adapt.
No. The only thing I said, it was like, that's the only thing I could think of.
But you can't think of that.
Wait. Hold on. Let me talk. The only thing that I could think people would put against this idea. That's the only thing.
Well, it's all right to think of oppositions because you want to be able to think past them. How do you resolve those issues?
But that's it, because everything else would be great. And the only thing I can imagine, like, if you just have way too much power, it's a lot easier to take off a little bit of power, maybe detune,
maybe even a smaller tire size,
and just change the gears. Then
it wouldn't be the car then, because you have the adjustability to change it. So you take the car out of the equation completely, because that's the thing that I was going to tell you from a driver standpoint. They could give you a 4-mile road course and say, figure it out, and you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? That's a part of having a race car and a team, is you have to develop that to be able to compete. So if they give you a go-kart track, figure it out, it's going to be like, it's going to be dumb, but guess what? We'll figure it out. That's part of the team.
That's one of the things that we've seen on our, like, the Pro-Am series, for example, like Southwest Drift, Vegas Drift. That round they do at the go-kart track, it shuffles everything. Like, it changes it for everybody, and like it shows you that you have to have experience on both, like very technical tight courses and fast all out drag style
with different grip on the track too, because it's not there's no other course that has that kind of grip.
That's what makes a great team and a great driver, is being able to adapt to every scenario that is presented in front of you. And so if this guy, think about somebody who's like, man, my car's not going to do out here because it only goes good straight. Well, then you guys should probably refigure out your program.
Yeah, that's the problem you need to dial in. And it's possible to do.
Obviously, it's a very costly thing because you have to lay new paving and all that. But you can also bring an insane amount of spectators.
I think, so this is how I would do it. Let me tell you how I would do it. Why not find a company that would be interested to use your your foundation, your business as an ability to activate for their program. If I had an asphalt company, I'd be like, you know what? Let's do this one on the house. Then let's see if we can sell it for the future. So I'll invest into this with you, but let me see if we can do something together in the future. So now we can go to stadiums. We can see what we're capable of building and doing together. But they should be reaching out to companies that may have the resources to do it. And it's like you look at Supercross. Supercross lugs in millions of pounds of dirt to stadiums, tons and tons and tons.
Oh yeah,
to build it. So it's like
for just one night.
event, and then it loads up and goes. And guess what? They do that probably 20 times throughout the year. Yeah, dirt may be a little bit easier, but you have people working it in and taking care of it.
Here's the thing: the fact that Drift Masters and other series, I think,
are already doing it.
I think is FD China or who is in China? They're doing
drifting as well. The World Series Drift.
The fact that it's being done somewhere else in the world means it can be done.
Right.
And I mean, we're not supposed to be the best country on earth just for not enough.
There's other people doing it more than us.
We have gigantic stadiums here.
Yeah,
we have monster trucks running around in stadiums here. It's totally possible.
Our stadium here in Arizona, they can put the entire field. It slides outside.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how ridiculous it gets here.
Yep.
So I don't see why not. I don't see why it couldn't be done. Obviously, yes, it'll be a big investment, but I think the capabilities of filling an entire
here's the thing of an investment, though. An investment is a gamble, right? When you put money into something, the idea is I'm going to put money into it to hopefully be able to get more money out of it. So yes, if Formula Drift or their programs or partners may say, do you know what? I'll pitch in with you. But if it works, guess what? Now that opens them up to another completely different audience.
Opens the
floodgates. The floodgates for bringing in a larger audience.
Look at Gridlife. Just simple, like it's different style of event if you may, but like they decided, you know what? Let's do one in Atlanta, and we're gonna gamble.
That's all it is.
And gamble they did.
Yep.
And maybe the first year wasn't the most profitable, but people were mind blown. It's like, whoa! I want to be part of it. Second year.
Yep.
Second year. Twice as big.
Yep.
Third year, I mean, dude,
they paid for the first 3 and the next 4
exactly.
after that. Yep.
So I think that's how investments work, and
that's what they need. They need to find a good group of people that are willing to invest in the program. Say, hey, let's do this together because if it works, guess what? We're going big. Now that helps the drivers because you know what? Now you can go to bigger audiences and bigger sponsors saying, hey, we're doing 4 stadiums across the United States. We're doing indoors. Think about how much nicer it'd be to have these larger companies come out. They get box suites. You have people right up against it. That's where the money starts coming in. You go to a NASCAR race at PIR, the reason is because, one, they can fill the stands. 2, they have great places for larger companies to relax and hang out and say, this is where my money's going. Look at the people wearing my t-shirt. There's a whole platform.
It's a bigger return. It's a bigger return.
But you need a little bit more to put in. You can't be afraid to put a little more in.
As soon as you said boxing, I just thought of like unlimited food.
Yeah. Nachos for everybody.
That'll be the most awesome thing. I really think it can happen. And hopefully something like this happen in the future. I would love to see like a day-long event where there's more than just drifting. Maybe there's some show in between. Like there's I don't know, whatever. But you know what, Corey?
What's up?
I think after we end the show, let's just call Elon Musk back.
Yeah, we'll get him back on the show.
That'll be the first investor.
He texted us earlier asking when we're going to do indoor drifting, and he was actually buying out the stadium out here just to do it, and then leasing it to the baseball teams.
I bought the stadium.
Yeah, back off me.
So I think let's go with that. All right, get Elon on the phone.
Cool.
So. Before we call Elon, thank you guys for watching. It's a little premature, but let's just...
Thank you, Nexon Tire.
Nexon
Thank
Tires.
you, AEM. Thank you, Motegi Wheels. Thank you guys for everything that we do. We'll be seeing you guys at FD Texas. Our Patreons are awesome.
Thank you, guys. You are the best.
Pay attention to Motegi's Instagram over this weekend. Obviously,
Enfera
take
Club
us over.
at Enfera Club. At Enfera Club on Instagram. You guys are missing out if you haven't.
Until then, we'll see you guys later.